Here.
Mark Raymond,
Here.
Paul Sturbko,
Here.
Carl Cotter,
Present.
Gia Hamilton,
Present.
Kevin Jackson, absent. Galathea Baham, absent. Bobby Hill,
Here.
and Kimberly Jones-Williams. Absent. I had 5 on that, right? Yeah, all right, we have 5 members, we have a quorum. 6
Thank you
members, we
very
have a
much.
quorum. Excuse me.
We'll move on to item 2. We're going to recess to receive public comment. After I read this statement, COVID-19 pandemic continues to preclude us from meeting safely in a public forum. We must therefore continue to operate in this virtual fashion, using the public comment guidelines outlined by the Louisiana Attorney General. Here are the public comment rules that we will follow today. At the beginning of the meeting, staff will read the agenda for today's meeting in its entirety. That agenda is also outlined at council.nola.gov. That's council.nola.gov. We will then recess for 10 minutes to allow citizens to submit written comments for any agenda items. Anyone wishing to comment should go to council.nola.gov and fill out an online public comment form. Only written public comments will be accepted. Public comment will be limited to 1 comment per person per item. Comments should also be limited to 2 minutes when read aloud and be germane to the agenda item at hand. Public comment will be closed at the end of the 10-minute public comment period. No written comments will be accepted beyond that point. Before voting on an agenda item, council staff will read any public comment received for a pending agenda item. Mr. Carter, can you read the agenda in full, please? Or Andrew, if you're going to do it.
Why don't I got it. Is that one working? All right, give me a second. I got to bring the agenda back up. Sorry, one more second. Okay. All right, agenda. 1, roll call. 2, recess to receive public comment. 3, approval of the minutes from the November 18th, 2020 meeting. 4, expert panel update. 5, street survey discussion. 6, initial report recommendations. 7, other matters. 8, adjournment.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will recess for 10 minutes. Andrew, what time to return?
Back here at 3:21.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
believe we're ready to go.
All right. Staff, would you please read the roll again for us? Please call the roll.
Absolutely. Sorry, Richard Westmoreland,
Present.
Mark Raymond,
Present.
Paul Sturpko,
Present.
Carl Connor,
Present.
Gia Hamilton,
She's
She's logged on.
yeah, I see her on there. Gia, are you there?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Kevin Jackson, absent. Galathea Bayham, absent. Bobby Hill
Present.
and Kimberly Jones Williams. Absent. I know she was having an issue logging on too, so I'll try and resolve that.
Yes.
But we have 6 members. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And I was also going to say Kevin Jackson is also scheduled to call in. He was in Wyclowski and having issues finding an area with good coverage. So I'm sure he will get on as soon as he finds a signal. We'll move on to agenda item 3. My normal caution to the audience that the remainder of the agenda that we're going to discuss today will be our first time with a quorum discussion on those items. Commissioners, your feedback is welcome as we progress. We today especially really need it. So item number 3, approval of the minutes. Commissioners received a copy of the minutes from the November 18th meeting. Are there any corrections or questions? Andrew, is there any public comment for this portion?
There's no public comment for this, no.
Okay, if there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as distributed.
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the minutes from the November 18th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved. Thank you all. We'll move on to item number 4, the expert panel update. Of course, our expert panel has been working hard as usual. They are in the middle of trying to update the initial report that they gave us. And I'm going to ask Sue Mobley and Thomas Adams if they would give us an update on where they are currently.
Hi, y'all. We are in the final round of edits on the second report with 3 prospective names for each street. We are now down to about 10 essays outstanding, and we'll be finalizing all of our edits over the next 3 days to have them to you by the end of the week, and our work will then be done.
Do you all have anything else to add?
I'm not, I'm not sure if this is the correct moment or when you start considering for each, but and I did want to point out a few things in that report. And again, all of you guys, we've shared a draft with everyone, so you've gotten to see that. But and as I think we move forward in agenda items, I think Sue or myself are happy to answer any questions commissioners may have about some of the less known, more anonymous people that we've included in this report, of which there are many who have not made in the kind of standard pantheon of kind of leading historical figures in the city. But I also wanted to take, if now is the appropriate time, Chairman Connor, to read in particular the 4 names that they were not, to read our narrative on 4 names for various streets definitively named after generals in the Confederacy in Lakeview, and why, and again, I was to read that narrative with
Yes.
kind of, okay, great, I'll go ahead and do that. And then I also have another kind of point I was going to add. So again, I'm just going to be reading this, so forgive me if the yeah, I'm not kind of doing this off of a ad lib, but in the summer or autumn of 1855, a man named George escaped from the estate of the then deceased John McDonough, which legally owned both George and a good deal of present-day City Park. Sometime in late 1858 or early 1859, a man named Celestine fled James Meecave, a Metairie Ridge man who owned Celestine as property. Around the same time, a man named Jasper escaped from the person who owned him as chattel, William Martin, who also lived near Metairie Ridge alongside the New Basin Canal. Then in the summer or autumn of 1861, a woman named Margaret Elizabeth fled from John Hersey, the man who owned his property along Gentilly Ridge just to the east of what would become City Park. We know precious little about the specific lives of George, Celestine, Jasper, and Margaret Elizabeth. It's probable that upon George's later attainment of his freedom, he worked alongside his wife Marthy and his children on a truck farm near Gentilly Road, one of many such farms that lined the fringes of the city in that era. We can also be fairly certain that when he escaped bondage in late 1858 or 1859, it was not Celestine's first attempt at self-liberation. It's likely after gaining his freedom as a result of the defeat of the treason against the United States, Jasper became a tanner and resided in the 6th Ward. As for Margaret Elizabeth, no other records of her life survive to us. Like 4 million other Americans in 1860, nearly 13% of the nation's population, Celestine, George, Jasper, and Margaret Elizabeth were owned as property. In Louisiana, they represented just 4 of the more than 330,000 people in bondage in this state, fully 47% of the total number of Louisianans. The vast majority of these women and men lived lives of complete anonymity. They toiled harvesting sugar, picking cotton, maintaining households, and in countless other forms of labor. The possibility of the whip, rape, and being sold far away from parents, children, spouses, and loved ones was omnipresent. In the words of an esteemed Southern jurist, quote, "The power of the master was absolute, so as to, quote, render the submission of the slave perfect." Off their bodies, which were collectively valued at the equivalent of more than $1 trillion in 1860, New Orleans and the Mississippi Valley produced more millionaires per capita than anywhere else in the world in world history up until that point. That we know anything about the lives of Celestine, George, Jasper, and Margaret Elizabeth owes to the fact that between 1855 and 1861, each took the momentous step of attempting to liberate themselves from slavery. Given the city's geography at the time, upon leaving the men who owned them as property and used their bodies for whatever they saw fit, it's quite possible that they initially head out in the swampland around present-day Bragg, Lane, Mouton, and Walker Streets, while perhaps attempting to reunite with loved ones sold far away or secure passage on a boat to freedom in Canada, Mexico, or the British or French Caribbean. That they left at all took uncommon courage. For the simple reasons of surveillance and isolation, most enslaved Americans never had meaningful opportunities to do so. Being caught, a likelihood in most contexts, meant a simple outcome: torture. It's not just that their individual courage, though, that deserves honor, but the very real historic results of their actions. Each person who attempted to emancipate themselves made the maintenance of the institution of slavery and the entire economic, cultural, and social system built around it in New Orleans and the broader South that much more difficult to maintain. In fact, as now 3 generations of the most respected historical scholarship has made clear, it was these individual actions of courage that in the final analysis transformed the Civil War from initially a fight over slavery to, in fact, a fight for emancipation and freedom. Unlike thousands of others like them whose names and anonymous acts of heroism are lost to history, resting in honor and glory known only to God, to paraphrase the language on the tomb of the unknown soldier, Celestine, George, Jasper, and Margaret are known to us in the here and now, and they deserve our city and nation's undying thanks and honor. Again, I wanted to put those in for the record also so that we know, so that commissioners as well as residents and onlookers know why they're chosen for those streets in particular. Again, they were held in bondage by slave owners who had land in essentially present-day Lakeview or surrounds. And again, putting those because that was narratives that were taking some time given the research involved in them to write. And I also just wanted, as a general comment as well on, again, I'm not a commissioner here, I'm simply a historian. But I do think that it's worth thinking through what our neighbors to St. Bernard Parish wrought roughly 2 decades ago when in regards to the controversies over the naming of Judge Perez Drive out in St. Bernard Parish, right? The solution to that issue was to rename it after another Judge Perez. Now in national as well as local context, right? that 6th Street is still, and that major street in St. Bernard in particular, is still known as being named after Lander Perez, who, as a leading historian of the era, put Bull Connor of Birmingham to shame in his fight against the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s. And of course, Lander Perez himself was quite responsible for many of the actions in Orleans Parish regarding school segregation and desegregation in particular. So in terms of again, I wanted to kind of somewhat editorialize, but as a historian, in relationship to the idea of renaming a street but keeping the same name as an idea tends not to, in fact, kind of change in the consciousness in some ways, is my understanding what the point of this exercise is about.
Thank you very much for that, Thomas. I tend to agree with what your comment as well. Is that all that the panel of experts has for us currently? Yes. Well, thank you all very much for that. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Andrew, is there public comment to this portion?
No public comments on this.
No public comment? Okay, thank you very much. So with that,
I just want to add that Commissioners Jackson and Commissioner Kim are on the line.
oh, thank you very much. So with that, we'll say thank you again to you all. We look forward to getting that report from you by Friday. It is the work you've done has been vital to us making the determinations that we're going to try to make today. Even though, as I will say in a moment, these are preliminary, these are initial recommendations that may change based on information that we get from you all and from the public as we move forward. So again, we appreciate that you have lifted heavily to this point, but we would not be close to where we are now without you. So thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item 5, street survey discussion. So this will be the meat of the discussion, I think, today, agenda item 5 and 6, ladies and gentlemen. So please bear with me. I recently emailed to everyone a copy of the survey results. So if you want to look and pull that up on your computers, please do. But a survey was developed with the proposed streets for renaming provided by the expert panel. It was sent to the commissioners who ranked the proposed names by street or park. That data was compiled and we will discuss it now. Following the discussion, we will vote on recommendations to be included in our initial report, which is due to the City Council November 30th. There are 35 streets that have been identified by our expert panel and 4 parks. The survey included all of those plus the names that were given as possible renames that were given to us by that panel as well. There was also an opportunity in the survey for commissioners to write down names either that they also wanted to propose for a street and or that they had gotten from their constituent outreach. I have, we'll go through the survey, but what I'd like to say as well is when we get to particular streets, I had the interns that we are using to compile all the alternative names that were associated with each of the streets that we are discussing. I know it was hard because that spreadsheet was a bit unwieldy. Didn't really behave very well when I was trying to get it to print for me. So I'm assuming others had similar issues. But as was the instruction when the survey was sent out, for you to contemplate as you went through the survey, you were to look at the reports that were given to us by the experts, the public libraries report, the public comments that, and just so the public knows that each commissioner had access to the public comment form since we set that up, and you all had an opportunity to go in and look at these additional names as well. I just printed this out. I had the interns write it up and print it out for me just so I could have it easy reference if someone has a question about alternatives that were given by the public that you may not have remembered or not put on your sheet. So with that, we'll get into the meat of it unless someone has a question before we start. And I just want to also remind you that we're going through this exercise with the intent to, in the next agenda item, actually vote on recommendations for this initial report. And again, I'll caution you that, we will be updating this. This is just the initial report. As Thomas and Sue have said over the last couple of days to us on via email as well, we are doing this with not their final report to us. So some of the things that they're going to send us would have more information about some of the people's names that are listed here. So, we certainly will revisit this, and if there are changes that need to be had, we'll do that. So we'll go straight into the survey now. So question 1, and I hope you all were able to pull that up on your computers. The question 1 was, please rank renaming recommendations for Walker Street from your top to least preferred, or add additional names if you wanted to add them, right? The results of that, so eight of the commissioners filled out the survey. I should say that as well. 1 did not, and I believe that that 1 is the commissioner who's to be replaced for the New Orleans East. So, but we have 8 of the 9 have responded. So back to question 1, Walker Street, the choices that were offered to us were Jasper, James Ingraham, and Lee Dorsey. As you can see on the report, Lee Dorsey weighted out to be the number 1 choice. Jasper came out as 2nd, and Ingraham as 3rd. These first several here are going to be the Lakeview self-emancipated slave categories that Thomas just spoke of as well. So if you all did not get a chance to read that email that I had sent to you prior or with the survey, an email around the same time rather with the survey, but heard what Thomas said just now or have a change of mind about it, please, when we get to the next section, reflect that when we do the actual vote. As we go through each question, if anyone wants to have a conversation about the particular street or the choices, please let me know that as well. So if no one has anything to say about question 1, I'll move on to question 2, which is please rank the following recommendations for Mouton Street. Margaret Elizabeth, James Lewis, and Malcolm John Rebenak, also known as Dr. John. Dr. John weighted out to the number 1 choice for Mouton Street. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, hearing none. Question 5 was for Lane Street, and the choices were George's, the emancipated slave, C.C. Antoine, and Louis Prima. Louis Prima weighted out to be the number 1 selection for Lane Street. Question 7 was for Bragg Street. The choices were Celestine, another emancipated slave, Robert H. Isabel, and Juanita Brooks. The choices weighted out to Juanita Brooks being the preferred in the survey. I will stop and say this, that someone, one of the commissioners in their responses wrote that there's another Brook Street that exists in New Orleans East, I believe. And the comment on the survey was that they didn't think that we could use the name again. And I'll just refer back to an example that we're going to get to later with Sim Street. If it's a different first name, you know, there's certainly streets that have the same last name, but are honoring a different person. So the first name is included. But if someone wants to have a conversation about that, or the commissioner who wrote the comment, please speak.
Carl,
now.
that was me, and I'm referring to, there's a Brook Street within walking distance of Bragg Street.
Okay.
Okay, it's within 3 blocks,
Mhm.
4 blocks. So I just could see that becoming a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Connor, that is something that the CPC considers when it's doing its renaming, is duplication of names. So that is something we'll have to flag.
Okay, and I was just about to say that to you, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, I have a question.
Yes.
Are these responses individual responses, or are they us as a collective?
So what I'm giving you now is so everyone put their individual response into the survey. I'm giving you the survey generated, which streets came out in what order, basically, from the individual survey. So I'm giving you the name that weighted out with the most choices for the pick, for number 1 pick.
Okay, because my document didn't come that way. Mine came with everybody's responses individually. And I got like 100 and something pages of it.
Yeah, because the way that it came, and I after I printed it, unfortunately, I just realized. So I didn't get this until shortly before we started. So this is why this is also being a little more tedious. We're being a little more tedious than normal in these meetings with this. But so the first like 10 pages about are the actual weighted question and answers. After that is where you get into individuals' responses, I think. So that first 10 pages should be the weighted ones. Okay. So we'll move on to question 9. Drew Avenue. The choices were Wardell Quazaire, Francis Joseph Godet, and Arthur Chapatal. Francis Godet, Joseph Godet, weighted out to be the preferred survey choice there. And unless someone stops me, I'm going to just keep going through, okay, with a question or a comment. General Early Street. The choices were Dent, Marcus Christian, Alice Dunbar Nelson.
Commissioner Connor, you muted yourself.
Let me make sure that this document is telling me exactly what the program said. 1 second. Mark has me concerned now.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you stopped me, just in case it's not this first page that I actually thought it was.
I'm double checking too. All I have is, I have number 1 being like, that's someone's individual survey.
Yeah, you're right. So let's I'm sorry.
If
So
you
this
view
this to the side.
Google Doc, I'm looking at the Google Doc and it's following right along with the calculated, survey votes.
So if you look at the very top of the first page, it says number 1.
Correct. And then it says choice, first choice, second choice, third choice.
Right. So that's.
Yeah. But I think what I was reading, as Mark was saying before, I think was an individual person's response, because now that I'm looking at the actual program, I'm seeing a different deal, because this is the one that includes everyone's. So I'm going to go back just to make sure that we have the right things. So we'll go back to question.
I think we're missing the combined document.
Yeah, and I have that in front of me electronically, but not I don't have access to share it. This part that was what this was supposed to be, that I was reading off of to you all. And apparently it is not. Apparently it is everybody's responses as opposed to the combined analysis.
Oh, you're right.
So I'm going
Okay.
to give you, I'm going to go back to and use the app and tell you what the combined analysis was, because things will change now. I apologize.
Did Elle send you that? I can call her real quickly.
It was Lyra. L's out.
Okay.
But yeah, please, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and do that. So for question one, which was the Walker Street, the actual name that waited out as the first choice, there was a tie basically between James Ingraham and Lee Dorsey. So I'm glad. Thank you, Mark. You really saved me on this one. So we need to mark that so that when we go into the next area, we'll because this survey is not the vote, just to be clear. So the vote comes in the next agenda item. So I'm just giving you what was there. So there was a tie between Ingraham and Lee Dorsey for Walker Street. For Mouton Street, there was Dr. John did actually wait out to be number one in that one. So that I wasn't wrong there. There was one additional recommendation, which was to name the street Rosa Parks, from a commissioner, that is, which was to name it Rosa Parks instead. So let me mark that down.
Carl, can you tell us what was 2 and what was 3? Just
Yes. So the second choice on that one was Margaret Elizabeth, and the third choice was James Lewis.
thank you.
Okay. One second, guys. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. I'm marking this right for myself. Okay. All right. We might be on track now. Okay. All right. So Lane Street, which is question 5. The choices again were George's, C.C. Antoine, and Louis Prima. So George's came out as number 1 choice. C.C. Antoine was the number 2 choice. And Louis Prima, the third. And I see some people didn't respond. Okay, all right. So to scratch what I just told you, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. The C.C. Antoine waited out to the third choice. The first choice. Louis Prima was the second choice, and George's was third. And there was no additional add-ons for that one. Bragg Street, which was Celestine, Isabel, and Brooks. The weighted answers came to Brooks as number 1, Isabel number 2, and Celestine number 3. And there were 2 additional responses. One was the comment about Brooks already being a street, which we must take into consideration. And another suggestion of a General Barrow as a street name. And I don't know who mentioned that, but if that person wants to quickly say who General Barrow is for the benefit of the rest of the commissioners, please do.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Carl.
Yes.
General Barrow is a son of Louisiana and one of the highest ranking generals in our history, a Silver Star winner in the Korean War. He's from St. Francisville, and he rose to become the commandant of the Marine Corps. And, while we're talking about this, I mean, just for what it's worth, my vote, I live in Lakeview, all the military streets. I'm a fan of keeping some of those in that, obviously no Confederates, but General Barrow he's not New Orleans, but he is Louisiana. So
commissioners, I did confirm that Lyra didn't export the sheet with the total rankings with all of us, i.e. for Street A, 3 people voted 1 for this, 2 people voted, 2 for this, 2 people voted
Right.
3 for that, right? She's going to generate that right now and send it to us.
Okay, and that is the one I'm reading off of the
Off the
actual
Survey Monkey?
Survey Monkey, right?
Yeah, yep. So she's going to generate that and share with the rest of the group.
Okay,
Carl.
great. Thank you. That's super helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we are now at Drew Avenue. And the choices were Wardell Quazaire, Francis Joseph Godet, and Arthur Chapatow. The first choice was Francis Godet. Second, Wardell Quazaire. And third, Arthur Chapatow. There were no additional requests there. So 11, General Early Drive. The options were Dent, Marcus Christian, and Alice Dunbar Nelson. The first choice was Dent. Second, Alice Dunbar Nelson. Third, Marcus Christian. And there was an additional recommendation of W.E.B. Du Bois. And then also a comment that all 3 of these individuals should be honored somewhere. The person who did W.B. Du Bois wants to speak, please do. And I'm the one who wrote that all 3 should be honored. I implore that we consistently do this, and I know Commissioner Hill does it as well every time we do a community stakeholder meeting. Reading these bios will change your perspective on New Orleanians heavily. I mean, these are some very accomplished people with worldwide reach. All 3 of these individuals should be honored someplace in this city. It's just my belief, based on their accomplishment. So we move on to General Ogden, which is 13. Herman Midlow, Sarah Toes Reed, and Johnny St. Cyr were the choices. Midlow was the first choice. Sarah Toes Reed, second. St. Cyr, third. And there was an additional recommendation of Booker T. Washington. Forshey Street, which is question 15. Gertrude, I'm sorry, let me back up. Buddy Bolden came out number 1. Virginia Collins, 2. and Sister Gertrude Morgan Beth third. Leonidas Street, question 17. The choice that came out first was Mahalia Jackson. Second, Reverend Skip Sampson. And third, Marva Wright. There was an addition of, the additional comment was that, and this is more for Sue and Thomas, but I think they may have answered us already on email, that we needed to confirm that Leonidas is not named for a Union battleship, and they've already confirmed that it is appropriately on the list.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yes, thank you.
Also to say that the ship in question was not a battleship. It was part of the Stone Fleet. It was a decommissioned whaling vessel filled with rocks and sunk by the Union.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Calhoun Street, question 19. There is a tie between Father Louis Toomey and Barbara Marie Gilry Thompson. And James Newgass was third. There were two suggestions to add on. One was Walter L. Coyne, and the other Keith Calhoun. If either of the commissioners who suggested those choices want to make a statement, please do now. Okay. Move to question 21, General Taylor. Professor Long.
Carl,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I got behind a little bit. I just want to let everybody know Keith Calhoun, I passed on because a couple of the stakeholders who live on Calhoun got in touch with me and gave me that name. So I just passed that on in the survey.
Thank you very much. Okay. And that's valuable information. And if anyone has similar items where the public has given them something, please speak up so that we make sure that it is in the consideration pot. So question 21, General Taylor Street. Professor Longhair received the most first votes for number one. Harold Baptiste was second. And the Henry Braden and Theodore Bodalis were tied for the last spots. There was a suggestion added for Harriet Tubman to be named on the street as well. Question 23, Palmer Street. So only 6 of us responded to question 3. To this question. So each of the individuals there received 2 votes each. So all tie for Elizabeth Cohen, Edith Stern, and Marlon Mayer Burkett. Mayer Burkett. Additional suggestions were made that it be Frederick Douglass, And then I think this next suggestions came from the District A meetings. I'm sorry, from the Carrollton meeting. Earl Palmer, George Henry Palmer, College Avenue, University Avenue, or J. Skelly Wright Avenue. Paul, do you want to make comments about those?
Well, that's correct. All of those names that you just mentioned came directly from our meeting and the feedback that I received from our meeting, after our meeting with the University Neighborhood Association.
Yes.
And so I, again, passed those on through the survey.
And am I characterizing this right, Paul? If I'm not, please stop me. But to some degree, the thought about the two Palmers who were not the Palmer the park is originally named after were perceived to be obviously deemed worthy of having some honor bestowed upon them, but also would preserve the park name for the residents.
Well, they would.
Or the street name, I'm sorry.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. There is a tremendous concern from this particular group, those within the neighborhood association who live on Palmer. And I gathered from the feedback, I don't know this to be a fact, but I gathered from the feedback that Palmer Street has a number of residents who have lived there a long time and who may have generationally have lived there, passed the houses down from one generation to the next. Yes. And they are clearly in favor of keeping the Palmer name and having a formal rededication of the street for either Earl Palmer or I don't have it in front of me now, the other Palmer, the Union bugler.
George Hall Palmer.
George Palmer. Yeah, he was a bugler in the Union Army who wound up receiving the Medal of Honor from Congress for leading a group of Union soldiers to recapture a Union hospital that had been taken by the Confederacy. Apparently they were outnumbered, outgunned, etc., and he did it. And he's from a long line of military Palmers. His ancestors fought in wars prior, and I think his son or his brother fought in a subsequent war on behalf of the United States. And Earl is a famous drummer, obviously. Right. We all know who he is. So, yeah.
And J. Skelly Wright is a jurist who is renowned in his own, very much renowned.
Right. No question.
Yeah. Primarily for his rulings during the Civil Rights era.
Correct.
Okay, commissioners and Andrew, you should now have the correct document in your emails.
Thank you.
Quick work, quick work. Thank you, Spears Group.
Okay. And I will provide Spears a little cover because they got the total number of responses late. So, having a chance to go over the document and make sure it was the way it needed to be for us to consume it, they didn't really have that opportunity. So,
and Carl, let me say, when I just went back to my Gmail account to pull up what we just received.
Yes.
We've received some emails since the meeting started, or at least I have. I don't know if everybody's gotten them, from the Palmer Avenue folks re-urging Earl Palmer as the replacement name.
Okay.
I just want to put that on the record.
And just procedurally, Andrew, is it fine for us to make those kind of comments? Because it's effectively a public comment being read out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay. All right. So we are on we're on Palmer Park, 27.
Okay.
All right. So I can't make that bigger. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, 27, Palmer Park. Charles DeLawn received the most votes. Ferdinand Lucian Rusev, the second most votes, and Earl Palmer, the third most votes. And y'all correct me if I'm not reading that correctly, but I think I am. So this is easier to read than the other document. Okay. So DeLawn, Rusev, Palmer. I'm not seeing it on here, but I know that there was an additional suggestion previously from the public comments that Palmer Park be named after John Minor Wisdom, who is another famous jurist from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals building is actually named after him currently. All right, question 29.
And, oh, we also, Carl, during the meeting, the Zoom meeting, somebody mentioned Peace Park. Do you remember that?
That's right, yes, Peace Park, correct. Well, and I have that. So let me make sure we have all of those for that one. Yep. Okay. All right. So 29, Cap DeVille. Revis Ortiz Jr. Oh, I'm sorry. Louis Rudine, C. Rudine, received the most votes. Then Revis Ortiz Jr. And then Robert Charles. I added to this list via email to the commissioners the name of United States District Judge Ivan L.R. Lamel. Judge Lamel is the first African-American federal magistrate in the Eastern District of Louisiana, and he is the third African-American U.S. District Judge there. And the reason, while third may not sound as impressive, the first judge was removed. The second passed away shortly after taking the bench. And then came Judge Lamel. A tremendous personality in the city, extremely helpful to any and everyone in multiple areas of life, not just in the law. So I'm adding his name there. The proximity of the street to the courthouse where he sits is also one of the reasons that brought me to add his name. Okay. All right, we are. Moving on to 31, Lee Circle. Leah Chase received the most votes. Dorothy Mae Taylor, second, in a fairly close election here. Comité des Citoyens was third. And there were a number of additional suggestions for Lee Circle from the public that included Ulysses Grant, Blaine Kern Circle, Jazz Circle, J. Skelly Wright Circle, Nils R. Douglas Circle. Leah Circle, we have that one. Mardi Gras Circle. Archbishop Philip Hannon Circle. Place du Tivoli Circle, which was its previous name. Andrew Jackson Higgins Circle. Allen Toussaint Circle. Eisenhower Circle. And that's it. Yep. Those are the additional public choices. Okay, number 33, Tulane Avenue. Allison Tootie Montana received the most votes. Then Ellis Marcellus, and then Shy May Temple. And I hope I'm not butchering that name. $35, Governor Nichols. Oh, I'm sorry. On Tulane Avenue, there were additional public comments. Give me 1 second here, ladies and gentlemen. Find it. On Tulane Avenue, the additional names from the public were Nils R. Douglas, and there were multiple requests for that one. The Blues Highway, A. Baldwin Wood Avenue, Medical Corridor Avenue.
Commissioner Connors, can
Yes.
I add one that I've heard from the public too?
Yes.
PBS Pinchback.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, Governor Nichols. Question 35. Lolis Eli Sr. received the most votes. Sylvester Francis next, and then Father Jerome Ledoux.
And hi, Commissioner Carl, I'd like to add a public comment for Bayou Road and for River Bayou Road, which would connect Bayou Road continuously from the tip of what is currently Governor Nichols to across Broad.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Hamilton. We also had submitted by the public, Dr. Louis Charles Rudenay, Hotel Du, Tennessee William Street, Calle del Hospital, Hospital Street, which received multiple entries, Bayou Road, Leah Chase Street, and Tommy LaFawn Avenue. Okay. Question 37 is Kruschnitt Place. Say that very fast if you can. The Fannie C. Williams received the most votes, followed by Andre Caillou. I'm sorry. Let me look at this again. Looks like Caillou and Wakefield received the same votes. So Fannie C. Williams won, and the other two were tied. Nope, that's inaccurate. So Fannie C. Williams is first. Emma Wakefield Palais was second. And Andre Caillou was third. Question 39, Lee Street. Fats Domino received the most votes, followed by Leontine Goins Luke. Then the Thompson sisters. And then Ronald Lewis was fourth. Beauregard Drive. Doris Jean Castle received the most votes. James Roberts second, and Elizabeth Rogers third. '43 Slidell Street. Henry James Red Allen received the most votes, followed by Herbert Simpson, and then Alonzo Ellis. General Meyer Avenue, 45. There's a tie between Rudy Lombard and Thomas Kidd Valentine. And James Porter third.
Carl, unless I'm seeing something wrong, on mine, it looks like Rudy Lombard was well ahead of Kidd Thomas Valentine.
So the graph at the top is the weighted of all the places that they were voted. So it weights when they were voted first, second, and third. So what I read was the first place votes.
They got 3 and 3. I see what you're saying, Carl.
Mm-hmm. So on the weighted votes, he definitely came out ahead because he was listed ahead of them and the others, correct?
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and I guess again, and I apologize because we got this at the last minute, but what we can decide in the next section as we go to vote, because we'll come back to this, if we want to use the weighted vote to influence our individual votes about this, then we can do that, right? And I think we should consider the weighted votes, but the pure numbers, I'm giving you the pure who came in first, second, or third votes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we are. Question 47. Semmes Street. Veronica Hill received the most first place votes, followed by Lizzie Douglas Memphis Minnie, and then Edwin Williams. '49 Raphael Sims Street. Dolly Adams received the most votes. And then there was a tie between Ramon Pages, and Harold Jean DeVore. Beauregard Avenue, 51. There was for first place votes, there was a tie between Sherman Gagliano and Jordan Noble. And Sweet Emma Barrett Beth was third. So like on that one, on the weighted, Jordan Noble was a little bit higher than Gagliano and Emma. Robert E. Lee Boulevard. Alan Toussaint received the most votes, followed by a tie between Joseph Bartholomew and Tommy LaFawn, a distant tie. I know that there was an additional suggestion, and I'll get the full list, of Leah Chase Boulevard. I know Commissioner Raymond, do you want to speak about that briefly?
I've just heard it tremendously from people in the community. And we have a petition with over 40,000 signatures that I will be sharing with the commission.
All right, thank you. And the additional street names from the public comment were Ulysses Grant Boulevard, Leah Chase Boulevard, George Rodrigue Boulevard, Brown Pelican Boulevard, Thomas L. Barbato Boulevard, UNO Boulevard, Lakefront Boulevard, Lakeview Boulevard, Lake Boulevard, Vista Drive, Ruth Bader Ginsburg Boulevard, Ruby Bridges Boulevard, Sister Camille Ann Campbell Boulevard, Homer L. Hitt Boulevard, Adams Avenue, which is the former name of the street, Archbishop Philip Hannon, Alan Toussaint Boulevard was suggested again by the public as well, and Wata Boulevard, Old Lakeshore Boulevard, and Dr. John Boulevard.
Oh, I got a few, I got some feedback on also Hibernia Boulevard, which apparently it was named at some point in time. I don't remember when.
Okay. Hibernia. Thank you. Question 55. Oh, crap. Berman Place, PBS Pinchback received the most votes, and Clarence Henry and Sidney Bechet were tied for second. That was Berman Place. I think I have an additional public for Berman Place too. Give me 1 second. Oh, no, I do not. Sorry. And I'll do this I'll do it now, just so I don't forget. I was remiss. I did not add on Beauregard Avenue on that question. There were public names for Pelican Street, Pelican Boulevard, Wisner Boulevard, St. John Avenue, Fort St. John, Homer Hitt Boulevard, General Sherman, and William Tecumseh Sherman Boulevard. And that was all for Beauregard Avenue. Okay. Berman Avenue. Danny Barker received the most votes, and Rudolph Desdunes came in second. Berman Park, question 59. Morris FX Jeff Sr. came in first. I don't see where any additional names were added. '61 Berman Highway. Oscar Dunn received the most votes, most first place votes, followed by Jelly Roll Morton, and then Eleanor Pete. And I don't see any additional responses for that either. Wiltz Lane, question 63. There was a tie between Louis A. Martinet and Cheryl Epling. With Edmund Dede coming in third. I'm going to throw 2 cents in about this one. Just Louis Martinet is a highly revered lawyer. Most of the specialty bar legal societies in the state of Louisiana are named for him. He was a lawyer, physician, and a newspaper editor. And I strongly support his name for honor. Burke Avenue / Burke Road. It's a short streets that are going to be joined that have been suggested that they become one street. It's Burke Avenue and Burke Road by the panel. And Juan San Malo received the most first place votes, and Edward Dunn and Chifuncta were tied for second. It's another one where I strongly encourage the public to go back and read the information that was put online about these folks. Juan San Malo has a great story. 67 McShane Place. There's a tie for first place votes between Joseph Guillaume and Lionel Furbos. And Stormy Delarvene came in third. McShane, please. 1 second, I think I might have additional public names for McShane, please. Additional, no, not for McShane. That's for McShane. Okay, thank you. 69, Penn Street. Dr. Sarah Mayo received the most votes, followed by Marcele Noer, and then Arthur Estevez. I was born at Sarah Mayo Hospital, so I have an affinity for that name, but I would suggest that if you have not read the Marcele Noer, that people go back and read that. It's fascinating as well. Question 71, Patton Street. Rosa Keller received the most votes, followed by Nils Douglas, and then Father Joseph Fichter. We're getting there, folks. 73, Comus Court. There's a tie between Arthur J. Robinson, Mr. Okra, and Lizzie Miles for first, followed by Julia Aaron Humbles. That was 1 second. And 75, Vignard Street. There's a tie between Mary Coghill and Diane French Cole, also known as Mama D, followed by Savannah Williams. And nope, that was it. Okay. So that concludes survey results. Does anyone have any comments about the survey itself? Or questions before we move on to the next part of the agenda? Were there any comments, Andrew, on that survey portion?
No comments, no.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to the voting for the recommendations. I will start this portion out with the caveat that reminding you again, based on the comments that were made during the experts report, we don't have their final report and therefore don't have the benefit of all of their background information on some of these candidates, particularly the lesser known candidates. So what I think, while we will vote today so that we can do our duty and do this initial report, It is exactly that, an initial report, and can be followed up. So once we receive that final report from the experts, we can certainly revisit what we have done today, or will do today rather, in light of the information that we will get from the experts going forward, and also from further public meetings and public comment via the website.
Carl, may I ask a couple questions, or actually just say a couple of things that I'm considering, and maybe everybody else would too, that there are some places in this report where people have duplicate recommendations. Certain people, Leah Chase, others that we want to honor. So just I myself want to consider, spreading the wealth to make sure that we do honor these people, even if they may not have come in first place in a particular area. So there was that. And then I just want to make a comment too about what Thomas read in the beginning of the meeting today, that I didn't quite understand when we got this survey exactly what was going on there, but what you shared with us today was incredibly compelling to me. So, I'm not sure in a vote exactly how to elevate those folks, given, we voted before that. So.
Mm-hmm. So to be clear though, Bob, remember what the survey was strictly that so that we could have an idea individually before we do this actual vote in the next section, because we didn't want to come to this meeting not having considered all of the options, correct? Right. So the survey was to help you, a study guide basically, to help you go through the choices that we have received from the experts as well as from the public, and get your thoughts ready for the actual vote, right? So, I probably should not have mischaracterized the vote by saying the survey results were a vote as I was going through it, but it was a lot. So, I laughed, so I apologize for that.
Yeah.
But just remember that the survey was meant to strictly inform you as you get to the actual vote, which is in this section.
Right.
The next section.
Right. I understand that. So if I could get some clarification from you, Thomas or Sue. So the piece that you wrote about the those recommendations, are they recommended for 4 streets in the same area? Is that correct?
Yes, for Walker, Lane, Mouton, and Bragg, all in that section of Lakeview. And again, those 4 individuals were chosen, and one of the reasons it took them is to do the research to find, because that area of the city was not particularly populated then. In fact, it was pretty much unpopulated, but people did own the land up there. And so I was searching through various archival databases to find people who ran away and try to liberate themselves from the landowners in that area, right? So had we gone the broader kind of, New Orleans had a good deal relative to the rest of the country because of its urban character, is somewhat easier, in fact, to slip away here. And but because we wanted, again, in keeping with the general tenor of our report, to try to tie people not just to the city but to the neighborhoods, right? So that's why the 4 in particular versus any other number of self-liberated people who one might find in New Orleans history before the Civil War. But thank you for asking for that clarification. And also, I just might add, as the commissioners begin to vote, if they have questions about some of these folks that they want to ask as they come up, I noticed a few people, one of whom really great civil rights activist, Julia Aaron Humbles, didn't receive any votes, but also her narrative hasn't been written yet, or it's still outstanding, from a very smart colleague of mine who's just running a little late behind on that one. But again, I wonder if that would have changed. So I'm happy to talk through her history in kind of the most cutting edge of the civil rights movement with the Congress of Racial.
Likewise, I would say that in looking at the 4 streets in Lakeview, that I heard the mention of wanting to honor military history, and would point out that we've named 4 Union officers of color for those streets in a similar thematic pattern to the self-emancipating and the musicians. And so thinking of those as categories may also be helpful. And of course, we are also here to answer any questions or clarify any points.
Sue and Thomas, thank you for that, because I was actually looking for exactly that clarification. So does it not make sense then, or there's certainly an argument for us to consider those 4 streets in those 3 groupings? I mean,
Were they already, but the explanation was missing? Was that what was, because there were certain streets on the survey that were missing those explanations, right?
exactly. And yeah. So either, I'm gonna say, so you either vote for the 4 enslaved or emancipated, the 4 musicians, or the 4 military. I mean, if we're trying to write a story and send a message here, I'm just suggesting that maybe that makes it more powerful, correct?
That was certainly our intention, although I'm not going to deign to suggest how folks vote one way or the other in this regard. But that was certainly our intention to craft 3 particular narratives for those streets in keeping with the current way that they're configured.
Okay,
Well,
great.
Also say, Mark, we intended to have the full report alongside the survey. And while I recognize that asking you all to read 140 pages to fill out the survey would have been challenging under the best of circumstances, it is unfortunate that so many of the names of folks who are less well known didn't have a direct link within the survey for point of reference or framing language.
No, I understand. I thank you for that contextual. That means a lot. It's hard, right? I think these are hard choices, but that's kind of the job.
Right, I agree. And I also neglected to say when we were speaking about those 4 streets, Bragg and others previously, that there was also a public comment that suggested that those street names be replaced with the names of the indigenous people who originally inhabited the area, such as the Chitimacha, et cetera. Just to be full and complete about all of that. I will say this, I fully respect the attempt to thematically pull those streets together because, you know, the one thing that New Orleans is and always will be is a story. So trying to write chapters basically or narratives within that story seems to make a lot of sense to me as well. What I would like more comment from the commissioners on is, would you like to adopt Commissioner Hill's thought of thematically grouping those 4 streets as one vote, or would you prefer to continue to vote individually on those?
This may be an appropriate time, Carl, for me to say, I know we have to go forward with a vote today, and I understand that, but as the representative of District A, I'm going forward today without the benefit of being able to have scheduled a meeting with the Civic Improvement Association. So
Yes.
we haven't had the opportunity to be face-to-face video and get their feedback. So I'm flying blind here basically on this one. And as you know, and I think I've made clear to everybody, public input on this from the constituents and the stakeholders, at least for me, is extremely important. I really want people to tell us what they think. And I've gotten some feedback from Lakeview, but it hasn't been a lot. But having said that, I'll say Commissioner Hill's notion makes sense to me from a historical standpoint. And like you say, New Orleans is a fantastic storybook with a lot of chapters, and that would be in line with another chapter. And I think streets in Lakeview have been thematically named over time. You know, as Richard pointed out, there are a series of military streets. There's a neighborhood nearby that's called the Bird neighborhood because they're all bird streets.
And then there's the Jewel neighborhood. I mean,
and then there's the Jewel neighborhood. So it makes sense to me. And I just want to say for the record that we have this meeting set for the 30th, and I'm looking forward to taking all of this back to them to make sure that we fully get their input, the residents and the stakeholders' input on everything we're doing within the district.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I appreciate that. But I also want to remind everyone, again, this is the initial report from the
Right.
committee.
Understand.
So, we've got time to receive more input and come back and revisit where we need to. I want the public to be sure to understand that, because after we turn in this initial report, we have a month to set a public meeting for discussion of it as well, right? So, it is my hope, at least, that once we receive the final report, hopefully on Friday from the experts, that'll give us another week to go back and look at it and look at the names of the folks who are there, and juxtapose that to the decisions we make today. And then we can reconvene and make any changes we think are necessary from there. So nothing today is concrete. I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. Nothing today is concrete. This is a part of the process, which is a multi-step process. It is our initial report based on the things that we have collected to date. So, it may change. So Sue or Thomas, can you help me just to make sure I've got it correct? Can you tell me the groupings for the streets, so that for the military streets, as well as the streets for the enslaved?
So yeah, the four, you want the 4 street names or the 3 different?
Yes.
The
Yes.
4 street names are Walker, Bragg, Mouton, and Lane.
And then Thomas, do you mind, can you tell us again, the emancipated slaves, the musicians, and
And
the,
Union generals of African descent, or Union officers of African descent.
But oh wait, so I want to make sure I'm understanding. So the Walker, Bragg, Mouton, and Lane, those are all emancipated slaves, right?
those
Self-emancipated.
to be
No, sorry,
renamed.
those are all Confederate generals.
They're the
No,
ones
I'm saying the replacements.
Yeah, the
Replacement
replacements.
suggestions.
Yeah, and then the 3 sets of
Emancipated
demonization.
slaves.
Right. The 3 sets of demonization are self-emancipated slaves,
Right.
Union officers of African descent, and musicians.
So which streets are the Union officers?
Each
Right, sorry.
street has one option from each of those categories.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't forget Robert E. Lee is Lakeview also.
It crosses D and C and NA. So
Right.
Yes. And Lee is, because Lee, yes, both crosses districts, and it's not in that set, and it also has a different history in its own renaming.
Right.
That is, we consider that separately.
gotcha. Okay, so to be clear, Commissioner Hill, please clarify that you're saying that if we decide that we should vote on which theme we want to push for the streets. So either the self-emancipated slaves or the military folks.
And the third choice, which is the musicians. So we have three
Right.
3 choices of grouping to rename those 4 streets. And my recommendation would be that we vote thematically to rename those 4 streets.
You're hitting that ball so hard.
And then just for the record too, because this is recorded and maybe some Lakeview folks will go back and watch it, to say, I just agree with Commissioner Sturbekow that, Lakeview has more streets to be renamed than any other part of town. And we certainly want to make sure we hear what those folks say. And they scheduled as soon as they could with us on the 30th, which was going to be after this initial meeting. So we are, again, open to ideas and their feedback. Sue's hand's raised. You're on mute, Carl.
It's probably best that I was on mute because I was trying to skip over Sue. Go ahead, Sue.
I just wanted to point out that the West Bank actually has the highest number of streets to be renamed, because all of the Behrman streets, places, highways,
Yes.
and avenues are there.
Okay.
Yes.
Which was not true of the initial report, and was true of the addendum.
Great, thanks for the
Also,
clarification. Yeah.
to add to Sue's point there too, we also have themes on the West Bank.
Oh, what are those
Can you-
then?
Yeah,
Can
can you tell them the themes there as well?
The themes on the West Bank are less tightly. There is still a musician's theme because we could actually rename every street in New Orleans for a New Orleans musician, and we would do well to do so. There is a labor and civil rights organizing theme, and there is a elected leadership, civic leadership theme. We have, as much as possible, again, attempted to keep people tied to neighborhood. But we've also explored those themes because they have value, and frankly, because so many of the people who we would like to honor as a city, should honor as a city, weren't allowed to live in the neighborhoods where the majority of these streets are. And I think the opportunity to look at everyone who's listed and everyone who's suggested as people who should be honored, think about what that implies for streets that are not simply within the Confederate renaming process, but are within honoring broadly, is something that this commission would be well served to recommend.
So Sue and Thomas, are those streets on the West Bank in a similar fashion? Are they geographically located? I mean, no, they're just, you have different themes for the West Bank, but they're not necessarily right next to each other like they are in
No, because again, as you pointed out, the some of the West Bank numbers went up when Berman in particular was added to the
So
list.
it's more spread out.
Lots of Berman on the West Bank. So we
Yeah.
don't know. So that means there's a somewhat spread out. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
So, commissioners, have any other questions? If not, I'm going to ask for a motion in a minute. So be on alert, those of you who are on mute currently. There'll be a vote shortly on something. But does anyone else have a comment about the themes? If not, Commissioner Hill, since it was your suggestion, would you, I'll entertain a motion to vote on whether or not we would like to adhere to themes with regard to the Lakeview and West Bank neighborhoods.
Well, just for further clarification and discussion, in my mind, the Lakeview streets that are geographically adjacent, and that there are 3 choices for themes, I would recommend that we vote on those thematically. On the West Bank, there are themes of suggested names, but they're not necessarily geographic like streets are in Lakeview. So I see them differently. I would say West Bank,
Okay.
your pleasure, understanding those 3 themes, and then on in Lakeview, I would suggest that we vote on changing those 4 street names by theme.
That is your motion.
Correct.
So there's been a motion by Commissioner Hill to vote on the Lakeview streets by theme. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yep,
Okay.
I second.
It's probably moved in second that we vote on the Lakeview streets by theme. All in favor?
I will. Aye.
Should we, do we need to do a roll call?
Yeah, I think for this one, we should do a roll call.
Okay.
Um,
Roll call vote, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, Commissioner Westmoreland,
In favor. Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
In favor. Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye, but I don't think my vote counts, right? Till the end.
Commissioner Hamilton,
I in favor.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye, in favor.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye, in favor.
and Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye, in favor.
Okay, so that is 8-0 in favor of the motion.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now that motion carries. So now is there a motion as to which theme we should adopt?
Should that not be a vote? Or is there?
A vote on which, we just voted that we would vote on the Lakeview Streets thematically. So now we have to decide which theme we're going to go with.
I'll make a motion that it should be the military theme.
It's been moved that we adopt the military theme. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been, Commissioner Jackson seconds. So it's been moved and properly seconded that we adopt the military theme for the Lakeview Streets. Is there any discussion?
So does that mean that we're going entirely military theme?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the understanding if we're going by theme. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just 4 streets, and most of the streets in Lakeview are, if not most, but many are already named after military people.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity.
Okay. So it's been moved and properly seconded. If there is no more discussion, call for a vote. Roll call.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
I vote yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
My vote doesn't count unless there's a tie. So I'm gonna say nay though, is for my vote.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Nay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Nay.
and Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Nay.
So that is that's a 4-4 split. So the motion fails.
So I'll entertain another motion.
I would move to select the theme of the emancipated slaves. 'Cause
Is
I
there a
think that-
second? I'm sorry. Is
I
there a
would
second
just
to that
add-
motion?
Go ahead.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and properly second that we adopt the theme of the emancipated slaves. Is there any discussion? Sorry, Commissioner Hill.
Oh, my discussion just is that that story is so important and so unique. And if I'm not mistaken, when one of the things that Thomas called out was the percentage of African Americans in Louisiana, I believe it was 49% as compared to white people, which is basically 50-50 in my opinion. And I just think that this is just a very compelling story and is one that should be told and put in our history books and noted in whatever public documentation that is created for how we are renaming these streets and the stories that we'll tell the rest of the world. So I just found incredibly moving. And, there are other places where we're honoring military, and there are other places where we're honoring, what was the third option? Musicians.
Musicians.
So I think it's very unique. And yeah, that's my comment.
Thank you. Is there any other comment? No other discussion? With that, I would like to chime in and say that I think that it was incredibly creative and thoughtful of the panel to conceive of this theme based on names of folks that we would never have heard generally, but who clearly made some heroic strides at a time when the odds were definitely against them. And I know that we had, in certain conversations previously, heard conversations from some members of the, very few, but some members of the public that, who were even in favor of renaming, but just didn't want it to be slave related because they thought that it would be a downer, is a comment that I was given, because it would hearken to some, event that was a downer to them. But what I would say to that is it's all about perspective with anything you look at, and where some people may look at it as something that makes you sad, it makes others very happy because it's a story of triumph, not a story of failure or of oppression. So that's just my belief on it. So that being said, if there's no other comment or debate, call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Could you say that again? I missed it. Sorry.
so this is the motion is to rename the Lakeview streets thematically after the emancipated slaves.
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Nay.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye. Sorry about that.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
So that's 7 yeas, 1 nay, and that motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move on. Is there a motion regarding the West Bank themes or voting on those by theme? Hearing none, we will move forward and vote on those streets individually. Okay. All right, thank you all very much. Thomas, can you or Sue, can you tell the names of the streets we just voted on, which ones prevail for Walker, Bragg, Lane, and Mouton, just so the record reflects?
Sure, Commissioner, give me one moment.
Jasper
on
and the
my
others.
list, which will take 1 second. For Walker Street, that is Jasper. And for Mouton Street, that is Margaret Elizabeth. For Lane Street, that is George. That's George, by the way, spelled with an S on the end. And for Bragg Street, that is Celestine.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we will move to the other streets. So we should take them in order. Okay. One second, ladies and gentlemen. So going in order, that would start us at, from the survey at least, question 9, in that order. Drew Avenue. The options are Wardell Quizaire, Francis Joseph Godet, and Arthur Chapatow. Andrew, I guess the best way to do this would simply be to go roll call and have each person list the name that they prefer.
Sorry, I think what you have to do, you actually have to have someone nominate a name and then call the vote on that.
Okay, okay.
I don't think you can do it any other way.
Okay, okay, perfect. Okay, so on, I'll entertain a motion for Drew Avenue, the renaming of Drew Avenue. We've gone, I'm going to ask again, any commissioner have a motion for renaming of Drew Avenue?
Oh.
I'll move to rename Drew Avenue Francis Joseph Godet.
Is there a second?
I
Second.
second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that Drew Avenue be renamed Francis, or recommendation be given to the council that Drew Avenue be renamed Francis Joseph Goday. Is there any discussion?
I'm making this motion based off of the popularity on the survey collected.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Andrew, I'm assuming we should do this roll call as well.
Yes. All right, Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
and Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
That's 8-0, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. So the recommendation to the council will be that Drew Avenue be renamed Francis Joseph Goday. And again, this is an initial report recommendation. We will move on now to Early Drive, General Early Drive. I'll entertain a motion for General Early Drive. Commissioners?
I will move to select Dent as a recommendation based on the survey results thus far.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that.
It's been moved and properly second that we recommend to the council General Early Drive be renamed Dent. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
That's 8-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you. We will move on to General Ogden. That's question 13 on the questionnaire if you're looking at it. I'll entertain a motion on General Ogden.
I'll move that we rename, the commission recommend that we rename General Ogden Midlow.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the commission recommend that General Ogden Street be renamed Midlow. A roll call vote, please.
Sure. Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
You're on mute, Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
okay, Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Question 50, Forshey Street. I'll entertain a motion for Forshey Street.
I move.
Who's that? Commissioner Hill? Oh, Commissioner Sturpko, go ahead.
I was going to move to recommend that we rename Forshey Street Bolden.
Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and properly second that we recommend to the city council that that Forshey Street be renamed Buddy Bolden. Is there any conversation, any debate? Comments? Hearing none. Andrew, the roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton, you may be on mute again, Ms. Hamilton.
Still on mute.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
All right. That's 7-0 and the motion carries.
Good, thank you. I'll entertain a motion now on Leonidas Street.
I will move that the commission recommend that Leonidas Street be renamed Mahalia Jackson.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the commission recommend to the council that Leonidas Street be renamed Mahalia Jackson. Is there any comment or conversation? Hearing none, call for a vote.
Commissioner Raymond, or excuse me, Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton, Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
That is 7-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for Calhoun Street.
I will recommend, I move that the commission recommend to the council that we rename Calhoun Street. Where's my notes? Toomey.
Father Louis Toomey. Is
Yes.
there a second?
Sorry about that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Been moved and properly second that Calhoun Street be recommended to be renamed Father Louis J. Toomey. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton, Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
That's 6-0, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll now entertain a motion for General Taylor Street.
I move that we change the name of General Taylor Street to Professor Longhair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second that we recommend that the name change from General Taylor to Professor Longhair. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond.
You're on
You're
mute,
muted.
Mark.
You're still muted.
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Yep. Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
That's 7-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you very much. That was General Taylor, right? Yes. I will entertain a motion for Palmer Street.
I move that the commission recommend to the city council that Palmer be rededicated for jazz drummer Earl Palmer.
Is there a second?
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second that Palmer Street be recommended to be renamed Earl Palmer. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, does that mean that the name actually becomes Earl Palmer?
I think that might be up to the planning commission.
Yeah, I think that's true, Mark. I don't know that we can make that call, but I may be wrong about that.
Well, I can tell you when Norman C. Francis went through, initially it was Dr. spelled out, and when it got to the final name on the street, I don't know if DPW and the mayor and CP, because there's some policies around how long street signs can be.
Right.
Well, on the chance that it could stay as Palmer and just be intended as something else, I'll be voting negative for Palmer.
This is Commissioner Hamilton, and I agree with that. I would vote negative on it remaining simply.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yeah, that was Gia. She
Yeah.
said she was going negative too.
Hey, Gia, we're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you.
Can we, at this stage of the game, can we say that the recommendation is that the street be named Earl Palmer?
That is my motion.
That is his
Yeah,
motion.
great.
And I will give my 2 cents. That I have some concerns about suggestions that leave the street names as they are. So we definitely would have to emphasize to the council that the full name be on the street signs.
How about
Because
how about we give
otherwise it
Earl-
would seem disingenuous. And as a thinly veiled effort, it'd be thinly veiled rather in convenience and cost savings to just say, no, we'll just leave Palmer up there, right? And it would dilute the effectiveness of what we're trying to do. So, part of our charge is to assist the council in, righting some wrongs, which were based in obviously treason, hate, inequality, or inequity rather. And in order to do so, changing the names completely to avoid the appearance that we're doing something improper, may be needed in some places. I'm not saying in this one, but in some places. So, I'm sympathetic to those who would like it to stay the same, but, and I understand the concerns that they would have for associated costs with complete name changes, but as one who has a legacy in the historically wronged, the inconvenience associated with street name change kind of pale in comparison. So, for the purpose of this project and doing things that it's intended to do, it's rooted in real injustice to real people. So, we really want to, be purposeful as we craft what we're doing here. And I think that Commissioner Sturpko is trying to, make sure that that doesn't happen in a negative way by insisting that it be Earl Palmer.
Exactly.
Just to make sure that we push with the CPC if it goes forward, that it be Earl Palmer.
Correct. That's
Yes.
absolutely correct.
Yep. So is there any other comment on the motion?
Yeah, I mean, Earl Palmer may be worthy. Let's give him a different street.
Okay.
Well,
yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Nay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton, Commissioner
sorry.
Jackson.
I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm a nay on that one. I apologize.
Yep. Okay. Nay. Commissioner Hamilton.
I think she's off now.
All right. Commissioner Jackson.
Nay.
Commissioner Hill.
Nay.
Commissioner Jones Williams.
Nay.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that had two yays and 5 nays, and the motion fails.
Thank you. And I also want to make sure, so we were talking about Palmer Street, not Palmer Park, Commissioner Sturpko.
Correct.
It's okay. And I thought that Earl was listed for the park, not the street.
Both. We had gotten feedback, yeah, for both.
Okay, perfect. Okay, all right. That makes, I'm glad. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're still looking for, entertain another motion for Palmer Street. As a reminder, those choices were Elizabeth Magnus Cohen, Edith Stearns, Marion Meyer Burkett.
I move to rename Palmer Street to Marion Meyer Burkett.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been properly moved and second that Palmer Street be renamed Marion Meyer Burkett. Is there any discussion? The only discussion I would like to give is that I was in favor of Stern, but primarily all of these stories are compelling, which is clearly part of the exercise here. And while we really insist that the public go and look at these stories. But Edith Stearns just resonated with me a bit more based on her ability to avoid becoming a part of anything other than high society once she moved to New Orleans. But she chose to not do that, and her reach went well beyond New Orleans as she inspired both Marian Anderson's career, and is said to be responsible solely for Marian Anderson's career going the way that it did, as well as another local New Orleanian who was an opera singer. And I share a commonality with Marian Anderson in that we both, while we were living in New York and attending Columbia, lived in the same building, a place called the International House. Clearly a different time. She's a bit older. But reading that story from Ms. Stern was really compelling for me, and it brought a lot of things together. So that's why I will not vote for Ms. Burkett, just to know. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Westmoreland.
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond.
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko.
Nay.
Commissioner Connor.
Nay.
Commissioner Hamilton. Oh, excuse me. Commissioner Jackson.
Nay.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones Williams.
Aye.
That is,
Well, it looks
4
like
yeas.
G is back on.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Hamilton.
That would be nay.
Nay. Okay, so that is 4 yeas, 5 nays. Did I count that right?
Should be
4
eight
sorry,
total.
4 yeas, 4 nays, and the motion fails.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain another motion.
I move that the commission recommend to the city council that we name Palmer Street Stern.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second that Palmer Street be recommended to be renamed Edith Stearns. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland.
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond.
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko.
Aye.
Commissioner Connor.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones Williams.
Aye.
All right, that's 8 yeas, no nays, and the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Entertain a motion on Sophie B. Wright Street. Entertain a motion for Sophie B. Wright.
Can we discuss this before we move?
Yes, we can.
So the two things that we have, the one that got the most votes on the survey was John Wright, right? Joni Wright?
No, John Jack Nelson.
Oh, John Jack Nelson, I'm sorry. I move to nominate that Sophie B. Wright be named John Jack Nelson.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second that Sophie B. Wright Street be recommended to be renamed after John Jack Nelson. Is there any discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry, may we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
And that's 8 yeas, no nays, and the motion carries.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion for Palmer Park.
I move that the commission recommend to the city council that Palmer Park be renamed Wisdom Park after Judge John Minor Wisdom.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second that Palmer Park be renamed after Judge John Minor Wisdom. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. All right,
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
That's 8-0, and the motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion on Capdeville Street. No, motion on Capdeville Street. That was Rudy, Robert Charles, Reeves Ortiz Jr., and I added in Judge Ivan L.R. Lamel.
I move to nominate, to change Capdeville Street to Judge Ivan Lamel.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and properly second that Capdeville Street be renamed Judge Ivan L.R. Lamel Street. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, entertain a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Aye.
All right, that's 8 yeas, no nays, and the motion carries.
Thank you. Entertain a motion for Lee Circle.
So, commissioners, this is one of those streets that are names that has multiple street considerations.
Yes.
In the case. How do we want to handle that?
So would you like me to remind everybody what the choices were, and including the public? So the choices from the panel were Leah Chase, Dorothy Mae Taylor, Comité des Citoyens, I don't know, I don't speak French, sorry, citoyens. But I'm laughing, but that obviously was a very important committee that was a major in the civil rights movement in the back in the 1800s and around Plessy v. Ferguson. So not to make light of it. The names from the public were Blaine Kern Circle, Jazz Circle, J. Kelly, they must have meant Skelly, Wright Circle, Nils R. Douglas Circle, Leah Circle, Leah Chase Circle, sorry. Leah Chase Circle, Mardi Gras Circle, Ruby Bridges Circle, Place du Tivoli, Tivoli Circle, Andrew Jackson Higgins Circle, Allen Toussaint Circle, Eisenhower Circle, Oquata. Nope, that's not it. Just that's the last one. The last one is Eisenhower Circle. I'm sorry, I confused my intern's writing. So there were a lot of choices.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes. Yes, Commissioner Jackson.
I move that we Dr. May Taylor.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that Lee Circle be renamed or recommended to be renamed Dorothy May Taylor Circle. Is there any discussion? Has everyone got, I'm sure you have gotten a chance to read the story, the narratives about these folks. I find it very fitting, actually, since she's responsible for the strike that got us to an integrated Mardi Gras. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, move to a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Nay.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Nay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Nay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
I don't know on that one. I guess nay right now.
It's all good. Preliminary.
So that's 4-4, motion fails.
Okay, I'll entertain another motion on Lee Circle.
I would move that we name it Jazz Circle. Something that we can honor. I mean, that's a big landmark. Someplace we can honor a lot of people programmatically there if that had a theme. So I moved to name it Circle Jazz Circle.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and properly second that Lee Circle be recommended to be renamed Jazz Circle. Is there any discussion? One thing I would like to ask, Mark, is this. I know we've had previous conversations about what possible installations could be on Lee Circle if it was themed as opposed to an individual's name. Do you want to limit it to jazz musicians, or do you want to make it musician circle or harmony circle or something more general in terms of a musical term so that you can honor more than just jazz?
Can I chime in here? Go ahead, Mark.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking, but yes is the answer. And
think about it. I mean, I don't know, it would require a change in the thought, right? But of the name rather, but.
I would just like to add that, this is the birthplace of jazz, which is
Exactly.
known the world. I think it's plenty important enough to garner its own really prominent place in the city. So.
Sue and Thomas, if you could chime in here, I think we're also there are people who claim that we're the birthplace of blues as well, right?
I mean,
Nope.
yeah, I'm no music scholar, but yes, people-
Memphis.
birth of lots of things.
Mississippi, Memphis, lots of places.
Exactly. That's
Claim it. Yeah, I'm clear, but I'm just saying
R&B, funk as well.
R&B and funk too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And again, not to take it up, but I would. I think Carl, as you pointed out a moment ago, Citoyen's circle was something that when we were talking to people and amongst the historians we surveyed, at an aesthetic level, I think people really, especially because Comité des Citoyens can be shortened to just citoyens, which of course is French for citizens, is the kind of honoring of the duties and rights of citizenship was something that we were really excited to write in that narrative. And again, I'm just putting that one out there for my own sense.
And they were also the ones who funded the Plessy ride on the streetcar, correct?
The Comité des Citoyens was the group of people who put forward the test case to try to challenge the birth of segregation here in New Orleans, of course, over on Press Street, where Homer Plessy was arrested to set forth the Supreme Court case, which eventually, of course, ensconced segregation, but it was the most sustained attempt to challenge the legality of that violation of the 14th Amendment in particular during the 1890s.
Okay, thank you. Mark, you've had a chance to think more?
I'm almost thinking, can we defer this later?
Yeah, commissioners, this is Commissioner Hamilton. I want to just gently point out that we're slightly moving away from the survey results, and that I know that we're all sort of getting tired and have things to do. And so I'm just wanting to kind of gently move us back on track to make sure that we're kind of our conversations are in alignment with the survey results.
So Commissioner Hamilton, I think you might have went out a bit when I was saying this before, but the survey was strictly meant to focus us on, this conversation. You're correct, but it wasn't meant to limit us to the survey. But it was to focus us, yes, but not to limit us.
Understood. I just want to make sure that in the interest of time, as we move on, that we're sort of putting forth the same sort of vigor and discussion around, the latter names, as opposed to several hours ago when we began the conversation. That's all. I just want to make sure that we're all sort of aware.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm with you.
Well, if I could make a comment here, if there's any place that merits some discussion, that would be the place. Probably of all these things that we're renaming, nothing gets more visibility. And I like Mark's recommendation a lot. Something that New Orleans is known for, and it's something that's pretty non-controversial. Let's face it. I mean, most of the things that we're renaming have a theme. This one's away from any theme or any, righting any wrongs. It's just something generic and something that's that the city is well known for. So, my 2 cents.
Any other discussion?
This is Commissioner Hamilton. I definitely, respect us trying to sort of get a win for everyone with something generic, but I think the whole purpose of forming this commission was to right wrongs and was to publicly acknowledge harm and potential harm. And so I sorry, I have a toddler.
Okay.
I personally feel like it would be against my own personal beliefs to simply vote on something that's generic.
Okay. Is there any, we understand exactly what you're saying, Commissioner Hamilton. Any other discussion?
Well, I'll second Commissioner Hamilton on that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm hearing you all saying is that what you would like to see, instead of a generic topic like jazz in general, that it be something specific to either an individual with, a story that merits a change based on the inequities that existed in the name of the street originally and so.
Sorry, everyone. I was dealing with, if you could not have heard it,
Correct.
a screaming toddler. And so,
Okay.
Commissioner Carl, that's exactly right. I think the purpose of the commission is to attempt to right a wrong, right? We can't do that with simply changing a name, but I think that the name and the dedication and the rigor around our discussions actually needs to be there in order for us to kind of anchor and root the purpose of this work. And so it feels like it would fall flat and gimmicky potentially for us to simply name something generic because it's easier or because it's potentially seemingly neutral. I would say, we are renaming these particular areas because naming something, grounding something, or repeating a name is absolutely not neutral. And so it's actually imperative for us to think about the people who have contributed both with their lives, their livelihoods, and all of their conveniences, all of their access, and to make sure that we put forth names of people who have contributed and sacrificed. And so I'd personally like to return to at least some of those names, or even to say that we include this particular area in the larger discussion with Lakeview if we don't feel comfortable making a recommendation now, if we need to do some more reading and research and more rigorous discussion.
And I think Commissioner Raymond, you were headed in the direction of asking about deferral
Yeah, I mean, initially.
initially. Okay. And I'm not pushing you either way. Trust me. I'm just asking. I remember you starting to say that, but.
There's just a lot to discuss.
Right.
I'm not saying defer it for another day. I'm saying defer it later in the meeting.
Right. Right. Is there any other discussion?
But I guess we would have to vote on that now.
Well, if there's no more discussion, I was going to call for the vote on the motion to recommend renaming it Jazz Circle. So if there's no more discussion, Andrew, would you please do the roll call?
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yay, silence debate.
Commissioner Connor, what was your vote?
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Nay.
What are we voting on?
To recommend that it be named Jazz Circle.
Okay, that's what I thought. So everybody's clear on that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Should we potentially start that roll call again?
Yes, please.
That's okay. All right, so the motion, just to be clear, the motion before the commission right now is to rename Lee Circle Jazz Circle. Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
that was yay, Commissioner Raymond?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
I'm gonna go nay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Nay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Nay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
I sit on the fence. I'm gonna say nay for right now. I don't know.
Okay, and that's 4-4 and the motion fails.
Okay, and Mark, you got me. Well, you're right. It's a lot to discuss. I think we're better off leaving it so that the council doesn't try to act on it as well from the initial report until we ferret it out a little bit more as a group. Just
So
my
I
suggestion.
Defer this item to,
You move to defer it
yes.
till a particular time. What?
I was thinking at the end of the meeting so we can move the rest of the discussion forward.
Okay.
You defer it for the.
Well, we don't. Okay, been moved that we defer the discussion of Lee Circle to the end of the list of possibilities. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and properly second that we defer the discussion on Lee Circle to the end of the conversation on streets. Any discussion?
I just want to add one quick thing, and that is, I know that this is a long process and people are tired, but this is just that important. And, you know, thus far, this work has not been nearly as time consuming as I thought it was going to be, although it has been to some degree, but, you know, it's just that important. So I think it deserves further discussion.
Okay. Any other discussion on this motion to defer? Hearing none, do we need a roll call vote this, or can I do this by acclamation? By voice, rather.
We can do by voice on that.
All in favor of deferral?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. The move is deferred to the end of the conversation. So we will move on to Tulane Avenue. I'll accept a motion regarding Tulane Avenue, which is at question 33 of the survey, if you need refresher. I'll remind you of the names that were given to us by the historians were, and I know I'm butchering this, Shai May Temple, Allison Tootie Montana, Ellis Marsalis, and the public suggestions. Public suggestions were Nils R. Douglas, the Blues Highway, A. Baldwin Wood Avenue, Medical Corridor Avenue, and PBS Pinchback. I'll entertain a motion on the renaming of Tulane Avenue.
No city is complete without a 2D Montana Street.
Is that, take that as a motion?
That's a motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that Tulane Avenue be recommended to be renamed Allison Tootie Montana. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a roll call vote.
Wait, before we do the vote, can Thomas or Sue, can you give us just the history of Montana?
Sure. I mean, I can, that one is very well edited, so I'm even happy to spread out. Tootie Montana was born Alice Montana in 1922. He was known to all as Tootie, the Chief of Chiefs, the most celebrated of all Mardi Gras Indians. Mardi Gras Indians are, of course, Black New Orleanians who form, quote, tribes that hold practices and bars across the city and then march through the streets of New Orleans on other days throughout the year. These public ceremonies, Indians dress in elaborate hands-on costumes or suits and sing chants as they travel in search of rival tribes. Till the 1950s, the tribes might face off with spears and hatchets, but it was Tootie who redirected the tradition away from violent confrontation and towards symbolic combat via the mastery of suits. We've got a long narrative about Tootie, but I also just point out, of course, for those of you who don't remember, right, that on June 27th in 2005, just at the age of 82, in an appearance before the city council to protest the police harassment of Mardi Gras Indians, he collapsed of a heart attack in front of council. His fellow Indians, of course, gathered around him to sing the spiritual chant Indian Red. Again, I can go through, and again, that narrative should be in there, but that's.
I think that was great. Thank you so much, Thomas.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Sorry. Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yay.
That was a no, Gia?
That was a yay.
Oh, that was a yeah. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jackson,
Yay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yay.
All right, that's 8-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to Governor Nichols. I'll entertain a motion for Governor Nichols. And that's 35 on the scorecard. And then the choices are Lolis Ellis Eli Sr., Sylvester Francis, Father Jerome Ledoux, and the public comments came in as Dr. Louis Charles Rudenay, Rudenay, Hotel Du, Tennessee William Street, Calle del Hospital, Hospital Street, Bayou Road, Leah Chase Street, Tommy LaFawn Avenue. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to rename Governor Nichols to Lolis Eli Sr. And by the way, I live on Governor Nichols.
Second.
Been moved and properly second that we recommend that Governor Nichols Street be renamed Lolis Eli Sr. Any discussion?
Could you give us some background history?
Oh, yeah. Thomas or Sue, would you like to do that? I knew him personally. I can tell you something.
Yeah, I mean, Carl, I mean, I did not have the honor of meeting the man myself. So if you knew him personally, I would defer to you.
So Lolis Eli was a legal trailblazer. He worked on many of the civil rights cases that helped toward desegregation and the like. One of the best minds I've ever been around from a legal standpoint. You know, one of the nights I will never forget, I had the opportunity to have dinner with Lolis, Jack Greenberg, and Justice Johnson and Nils Douglas. And it was around the anniversary of Plessy v. Ferguson. And they came in for some of the symposiums and things that were going on with that. And I had the pleasure of having met all three in different places over the course of my life. And so being in a room and understanding how those folks came together to help desegregate LSU, LSU's law school in particular, with Justice Johnson being the plaintiff, and understanding or listening rather to them have conversations about, you know, the challenges, but also the challenges and the triumphs, but also the collaboration between lawyers of all colors at that point in time, trying to right those civil rights wrongs, particularly in the desegregation world, is a night I will never forget. You know, but in general, Mr. Eli was a very great mentor. He didn't care whether he knew you previously or not. If you were a young lawyer, he was going to help you. He was going to talk to you about, you know, why you should be practicing law, and had absolutely nothing to do with money, which was a wonderful message to give. And he gave it in a way that wasn't an indictment of someone who actually was concerned about making money. It was just that the money should come as a consequence of doing something for others and not being a social parasite, basically, but being a social engineer. He lived on Governor Nichols, and toward the end of his life, had the opportunity to visit him multiple times at his home. He loved the street. He loved New Orleans in general. Very easily could have moved away and been much more world-renowned if he had done so. But that's, I'll stop there.
I didn't realize that you were.
He and Jack Greenberg, who is another pioneer in the desegregation civil rights movement, together, you know, made a formidable team of lawyers that, you know, and for Paul, who might remember the Greenberg on Evidence, that book, I don't know if you remember it, that's the Jack Greenberg that I'm talking about. Those guys, and Jack Nelson as well was a part of that group, made some wonderful changes to society.
Agree.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If I need a campaign manager, I'll bring you on board with me.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll ask for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Raymond,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Aye.
Commissioner Connor,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones-Williams. And that's 7-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you very much. But we don't have to make a vote on Crucianet Place, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to mention this earlier, but that a decision has already been made in that street or that place having a change of name prior to this committee, correct, Andrew? So there's nothing that we need to do on that one.
That's right.
What is the adopted name? Just curious.
It was changed to Caillou.
Okay,
This happened back actually well before the commission was formed. It was an effort led by Councilmember Brissett's office.
great. Thank you.
If I
Okay.
may just interject really quickly, though, if for the commissioners who haven't had a chance, the esteemed historian Larry Powell wrote our narrative on Andre Caillou, and it's one of the things I'm most proud of in this report that Larry was willing to do that because it's a beautiful 1,000 words, and I would highly recommend you take the moment to read that.
I agree. I enjoyed reading it myself.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I know we keep saying it over and over, but I strongly encourage the public to read these narratives about these wonderful people that are posted on the site. 39. Lee Street. I'll entertain a motion for Lee Street. Those choices were Thompson Sisters, Leontine Goins Luke, Ronald Lewis, Fats Domino, I believe.
Motion to rename Lee Street Fats Domino.
Say again.
I'll make a motion to rename Lee Street Fats Domino.
Second.
Second. Moved and properly second to rename Lee Street Fats Domino. Is
Sue,
there
wait, Commissioner, Sue has her hand up.
any discussion? Yes. Sue?
Hi, sorry. Fats Domino actually wasn't on our list for the street for a specific reason that the family and the council member are in discussion for renaming a different street for him.
I was going to mention that.
3 choices for this street, and he was the one that was not on the list.
Yeah. Is it not possible to say what that street is? Would you like me not to, I should say?
I feel like you are probably welcome to do that and enabled to do that, and I am not.
Yeah. Well, I'll just put it so Fats Domino lived on Catherine Avenue, and his home, which is very uniquely his, is on that street as well. And I think maybe a more fitting and appropriate place to honor him. Just my opinion. And that's a well established effort that's going on by his family and friends of his and business managers and the like. So is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion to rename Lee Street Fats Domino.
Hey, Commissioner Khan, that also can be withdrawn. The motion can be withdrawn by the person making it if
Right.
that is so the will of the person.
Yeah, I just didn't want to influence.
Yeah. Gotcha.
In the rules, Andrew. I would like to withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain another motion for Lee Street.
I move to change Lee Street to Leontine Goins Luke.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and properly second that Lee Street be recommended to be renamed Leontine Goins Luke. Any discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote?
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yay.
That's 8-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you. Question 41, I entertain a motion for Beauregard Drive. Those choices were James Roberts, Elizabeth Rogers, Doris Jean Castle.
I move that we recommend changing the name of Beauregard Drive to Doris Jean Castle.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we recommend that Beauregard Drive be renamed Doris Jean Castle. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yay.
And that's 8-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on Slidell Street. Those choices were Herbert Simpson, Alonzo Ellis, Henry James Red Allen. Let me make one quick check to make sure there were no public comments. Yep, no others.
I move to change the name of Slidell Street to Henry James Red Allen.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that Slidell Street be recommended to be renamed Henry James Red Allen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, accept a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yay.
And that's 8-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion on General Meyer Avenue. Those choices were Rudy Lombard, James Porter, Thomas Kid Valentine, pardon me. Let me check the. The public's suggestions were General Colin Powell Avenue, Patterson Road, Patterson Avenue, George Rainey Avenue, Joellen Smith Avenue. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we change General Meyer Avenue to Rudy Lombard.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we recommend that General Meyer Avenue be renamed Rudy Lombard Avenue. Any discussion?
Commissioner
Hearing none.
Connor?
I'm sorry?
Yes. I'd like to do another name, George Rainey. How does that work?
Right now, we're on the motion for Rudy Lombard, so we have to vote on it, and then we would move to George Rainey, but you're welcome to discuss why you want to make that change now, before we go to the vote.
He's just from that side of the river. He's a pioneer in that area. He owned business in that area.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote on renaming General Meyer Avenue Rudy Lombard Avenue.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Nay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yay.
The vote there is 7-1 and the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion on the renaming of Sims Street. Those choices were Edwin Williams, Veronica Hill, Lizzie Douglas, Memphis Minnie. I don't think there are any from the public, but let me make sure. Yeah, none from the public. So I'll entertain a motion for Sims Street.
I move we recommend changing the name of Sim Streets to Veronica Hill.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we recommend the change of Sim Street to Veronica Hill. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Sorry. Abstain.
She abstained.
abstain, okay, sorry. Commissioner Jackson,
Nay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Is that?
Commissioner Hill.
Yay.
Sorry.
I said yay.
Yay, okay, thank you, sorry. Commissioner Jones Williams.
Yay.
All right, so I have 6 yeas, 1 nay, 1 abstention. The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for Raphael Sims Street. Those choices were Harold Jean Devore, Ramon Pajes, and Dolly Adams.
I move to rename it Dolly Adams.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second to rename Raphael Sims Street, Dolly Adams. Is there a discussion? I'll just chime in one thing here, and it's more in line with our attempts to be more inclusive. That Raphael Pajes is a labor leader, but was also of Cuban descent. So just to consider that as we move into this vote. Any other conversation or discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Nay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Nay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
and Commissioner Jones Williams.
Yay.
Yay, so I have 6 yeas, 2 nays, and the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for Beauregard Avenue. That was Sherwood Gagliano, Jordan Noble, Emma Sweet Barrett Beth.
I move that we recommend to the city council that we rename Beauregard Avenue Gagliano Avenue.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
Moved and properly second that Beauregard Avenue be renamed Gagliano, Sherwood Gagliano Avenue. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote, please.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yay.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Nay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Nay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Nay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones Williams,
Yay.
All right, and I have 5 yeas and 3 nays. The motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we're getting there, folks. Alex, Robert E. Lee Boulevard before is the next one. Would you all like me to put that at the end with Lee Circle?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, so we'll push that one to the end with Lee Circle. No need to vote on that. Let's move to Berman Place. And those choices were PBS Pinchback, Clarence Henry, Sidney Bechet, or Beckett, I don't know. Whether you want to be English or French about it.
Sidney Bechet.
Bechet, and let me see if there's a public one. Comment. Nope, nothing on the public. So I'll entertain a motion for Berman Place.
I move that we change the name of Berman Place to PBS Pinchback.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and properly second that Berman Place be recommended to be renamed PBS Pinchback. Is that place or avenue? Do you want it to be PBS
Place.
Place? Okay. All right. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay, sorry.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yay.
That's 8-0 and the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for Berman Avenue. Those choices were Rudolph Desdunes and Danny Barker. There are no public suggestions.
Commissioner, if I may just add that Dadun is missing in our narratives. And for those who are not familiar with the truly amazing man, Rudolph Dadun was a poet. He was a police officer with the Metropolitan Police when they held off the attempted overthrowing the government of Louisiana at Liberty Place. He was later one of the most instrumental people in forming the Comité des Citoyens. And again, beyond being a lawyer, a defender of democracy, he was also a truly amazing poet. And again, we're still waiting on that narrative. So for those who aren't familiar with Dadun, I just wanted to give a brief encapsulation of him.
Thank you. I was going to say same actually, because I've been familiar with him for quite a while, obviously, but the portion of him being a part of the Liberty Place incident was one of the more moving parts for me. So, yeah.
I move that we change Berman Avenue to Rudolph Desdunes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that Berman Avenue be recommended to be changed to Rudolph Desdunes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay.
Commissioner Raymond,
Hey.
was that nay?
Yay.
Yay, okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yay.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yay.
Commissioner Hill,
Yay.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yay.
Was that nay or yay?
Yay.
Yay.
Okay, I just might make the suggestion as we all get a little bit more tired as the night draws on, we go yes or no on the votes. It would help
Yes.
staff out a ton over here.
Thank
Great.
you.
I believe that is 8-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Berman Park and Morris FX Jeff Sr. was the only suggestion for that. Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to rename Berman Park Morris FX Jeff Sr.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and properly second that we recommend that Berman Park be renamed Morris FX Jeff Senior Park. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yay. Yes.
just a reminder, yes, thank you. Yes or no here. Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones Williams.
Yes.
Okay, that's 8 yeses, no nos, and that is, the motion carries.
Okay, Berman Highway, suggestions, Oscar Dunn, Elnora Pete, Jelly Roll Morton. Lamont was his given name. And I don't see any other suggestions.
May I interject one more time in here as well? Again, just for, again, as just as a note, both the commissioners and the public to really to take a look at the Eleanor Pete narrative. The person who wrote it did some amazing research and to find the information on this woman who very much against all odds tried to organize the most kind of exploited of African-American female workers in the city in the early 20th century. And the way she did is truly amazing. And it was a student, in fact, who drafted the initial narrative, and I couldn't be prouder of the kind of amazing information that they found on the great Miss Pete.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, I would like to thank you for that, Thomas. I think it's great, and I do want to point out the fact that, you know, for whatever it's worth, we do always tend to rename things more for males than females, and I think this is an opportunity to call out a female who's done really important things for the city. So that's my comment.
Commissioner Hill, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you for pointing that out. I was thinking that earlier.
Is there, I don't think we had a motion yet. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we rename Berman Highway Eleanor Pete Highway.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we rename Berman Highway, or recommend that Berman Highway be renamed Elnora Pete Highway. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yay. Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones Williams.
Yes.
8-0 and the motion carries.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on Wilts Lane. It's Louis Martinet, Cheryl Epling, Edmund Dede.
I move that we recommend to the council that Wilts Lane be renamed Louis Martinet Lane.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we recommend that Wilts Street be renamed Louis A. Martinet Street. Louis A. Martinet Lane. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote.
Okay. Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones Williams.
Yes.
All right, 8-0 and the motion carries.
I'll entertain a motion on Burke Road, which will be combined with Burke Avenue. The choices are Juan San Malo, Edward X. Dunn, and Chafuncta.
I move that we change Burke Avenue and Burke Road to Juan San Malo.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we Recommend the renaming of Burke Avenue and Burke Road as Juan San Malo. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
We'll take
That
it.
sounds like 9-0 and the motion carries.
Sorry.
Out the mouths of babes. So that passes. McShane Place. The choices were Joseph Guillaume, Stormy Delaverne, and Lionel Furbos.
Thomas or Sue, could you tell us a little bit about Joseph and Lionel? I can't remember. Just give us a
Sure.
little.
1 second, let me just pull up. So,
Lionel was a jazz musician,
yeah, he's a longtime musician.
legendary jazz musician.
Stormy, for those also who don't know,
Yeah,
was a
the
millennium
Stonewall.
who was a leading activist at the Stonewall uprising in New York that, again, is generally considered the founding of the modern gay rights movement. Joseph Guillaume was a member of the First Native Guards.
Was
Yeah.
the leader,
Sorry, what? What?
I was
The
going to
leader
do
of the
Guillaume,
Native Guards.
Oh, you're gonna, please do. Sorry.
was the leader of the streetcar strikes. And sorry, there's crawling happening here. That helped to desegregate the streetcar system after the Civil War, which stayed desegregated until 1902 when it was resegregated by law. He seized a streetcar from the driver and rode it around as a carnival float down Love Street.
Hmm.
I like that guy.
Is there any other discussion?
To also add, the reason he was chosen for that street, right, is that there is the new streetcar line. Of course, for those of you guys, McShane Place is that one block stretch where Rampart Street turns into St. Claude in the 7th Ward, so where there's the new streetcar.
Okay.
There isn't any other place where we do have an opportunity to celebrate somebody involved in LGBT in New Orleans, do we, or do we?
I don't recall anyone
I
other
don't
than
recall, yeah.
Stormy Delaverne. You know, all streets are up for grabs, even if they don't make this one, just to be clear. So, but Thomas and Sue, are you familiar with any other of these? I don't remember reading any other bio of someone who that was one of the main characteristics of what they had done. Doesn't mean that some of the others weren't, obviously.
Right. I think that that's one of the challenges, is how openly someone may have been able to or willing to show a queer identity before the modern era.
Right.
And whether that's central to their set of actions for which they have been proposed.
Good
And
point.
that thankfully, just to piggyback on Sue, that many of those who have are still with us.
Right.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Which has been an interesting element of this process overall, is how many of the names proposed, particularly civil rights era names proposed by the public, are people who are fortunately still with us. And that is true of many of the rights movements of the latter half of the 20th century that we're lucky enough to still have those elders. So we should probably go learn from them before we name streets after them.
Then just as a comment, I thank you for sharing about Joseph Guillaume, if I'm saying that right. I do also like where we can associate both the geography, with the history and the person. So if there are no other comments, then I will make a recommendation to change McShane Place to Joseph Guillaume Place.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we recommend that McShane Place be renamed Joseph Guillaume. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
All right, that's 7 yeses, no nos, and the motion carries.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for Penn Street. That was Marcelin Noer, Dr. Sarah Mayo, Arthur Esteves.
I'll make a motion to rename Penn Street Mayo Street.
Is there a second?
Is there
Second.
already a Mayo Street?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I'll wait till discussion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, been moved and properly second that Penn Street be recommended to be renamed after Dr. Sarah Mayo. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick note that, as I think Commissioner Raymond was pointing out, there's a Mayo Road in the east,
In the east, yes.
which is our error, in fact, putting that on there.
Do we know if it is for Dr. Sarah Mayo or?
Know the history of that. There are a lot of Mayos. Dr. Sarah Mayo was not related to the more famous Mayo medical family. And there are a lot of Mayo streets out there in the country that are generally named after that family, which again, I'm just that's just conjecture. I do not know that for sure.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion?
Sue, would you make give us an opinion from maybe from the City Planning Commission's side? How would they consider that with Mayo? If it's two Mayos, would they want it to be Sophie?
Would it be named Dr. Sarah Mayo and not just Mayo?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think it would get resolved at the staff level with a recommendation if it made it through council, because things will go through council before they go through planning.
Yeah.
I will say we have tried hard, though clearly Brooks also a challenge, to not have redundancy. The full name is helpful. People tend to shorten street names.
Yeah.
So where there's concerns about overlap, it'll be around things like proximity for EMS, which is of course the thing that I take most seriously as, a human as well as a planner.
Right.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote on renaming Penn Street Dr. Sarah Mayo.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
I believe Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
7-0, and the motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're almost there, guys. I appreciate y'all hanging in. Patton Street. The choices were Father Joseph H. Victor, Nils R. Douglas, and Rosa Keller.
For Patton Street, I would like to make a motion to rename it Niels R. Douglas.
A second.
Been moved and properly second that Patton Street be recommended to be renamed Nils R. Douglas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpco,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor.
Yes.
I believe Commissioner Hamilton has had to step away for a minute. Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hilt,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
And that is 7 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for Comus Court. Those choices were Arthur J. Robinson, Mr. Okra, Lizzie Miles, Julia Aaron Humbles.
Commissioner Connor, can I just briefly, because we don't have the biography for Miss Erin Humbles, can I just briefly?
Yes, please.
Miss Erin Humbles was a truly amazing civil rights activist. She was a student at Southern, born in New Orleans, and born, I think, not too far, in fact, from Comus Court, which, for those who don't know, is a little one block long street that comes off of Franklin in the 8th Ward. But amongst other things, she was arrested over 30 times, including, I think, at least 10 times in Mississippi. She was chosen to be on the first bus that were in attempting to integrate interstate transportation into Mississippi, which, for those familiar with the narrative arc of the civil rights movement, the leadership of the movement chose Mississippi to be last for reasons of which we can perhaps imagine. She was chosen to be on that first bus, which was, of course, firebombed. She was not on that bus because she was, in fact, in Orleans Parish Prison for being arrested for protesting the segregation of the Woolworths on Canal Street. Again, Miss Erin Humbles was truly amazing. So again, that biography is outstanding, but I wanted to give a brief recounting of her life.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Are there any other, I'm sorry, I'll entertain a motion for Comus Court. Is there a motion for Comus Court?
I'll move that we recommend that the city council rename Comus Court Humbles Court.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and properly second that Comus Court be renamed, recommended for renaming as Julia Aaron Humbles Court. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpco,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hilt,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
That's 7-0, motion carries.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for Vignaud Street. The choices were Sylvanie Williams, F. Williams, Mary Coghill, Diane Mamadi French Cole. And I don't see any others.
I recommend we change Vignaud Street to Sylvanie F. Williams.
Is there a second?
I recommend we name it after Mama D.
So then, is there a second to the motion to rename it Sylvania F. Williams? Motion dies for lack of a second. Is there another motion? Commissioner
Motion
Westmore?
to, yep, for Mama D.
Is there a second?
Yes.
It's been moved and properly moved and second that Vignaud be recommended to be renamed after Diane French Cole Mamadi. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpco,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
8-0, motion carries.
Thank you. So we have to go back to Lee Circle and Robert E. Lee. But I also have a question for Sue and Thomas. I thought we had 4 parks, and I thought that one was Washington Artillery Park. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so Washington Artillery Park, we did not provide any names for that. It was on the original list. I'm not entirely certain why we didn't, although some of the reason, my sense is that there is confusion as to who actually owns it. That is, whether it is a city park or not, was part of my reasoning in this. It's, I think it might be part of the federal property there, but I could be wrong on that. Sue, Sue might also be off.
My understanding was that there was both a lack of clarity about which portions of it were under which jurisdictions, and whether it fell under the terms of the ordinance as written. And between those 2 factors, it was removed to be dealt with later.
Okay. And we did get a public suggestion that it be renamed after Ellis Marsalis Sr. Ellis Marsalis, I'm sorry, I'm saying Sr. I'm assuming it's because of its proximity to Snug Harbor, where he was routinely playing. I guess what I'll ask of the commissioners is, while there is obviously some confusion about whether any or parts of the park are under the city's control and therefore subject to being renamed, would you all care to make a recommendation in case there is a portion of it that is under the city's control? Or would you care to just put it off until there's more clarity?
Well, given the conversation we had with the community about that, I mean, I don't think there's any harm in making a recommendation. And that recommendation would be to change it to Ellis Marsalis Park.
Okay.
I move to.
Actually, can I just, the Ellis Marsalis, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was actually meant for Washington Park in the Marigny.
Oh,
that was what that
right.
community was recommending, and it wasn't actually for
That's
Washington.
right. You're
That's what we
correct.
were talking about. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You're right. Okay.
Well, the lawyer in me tells me we should probably avoid doing this until we know that we can,
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
you know?
I agree.
So, well, the question becomes: is the issue with Washington Artillery Park still exists? So I agree with you there. If Washington Park in the Marigny is the one that we're given a suggestion for, then should we A, add it to the list, and B, make a recommendation for it?
That might fall outside of the scope of the motion establishing the commission.
Right.
Right. So, I understand that. And to be clear, I want to have a discussion, and it doesn't have to be tonight because we've gone long, about, in the report, adding some additional streets or parks that may not fall clearly under the definition of the council's ordinance, but are things that we may think the city should look at. And under that heading, for me, I was going to talk about that under other matters. But the other places that I was considering were having a conversation around Jackson Square, Milne Playground, and Poydras Street.
Yep.
Commissioner.
So we can add Washington Park to that as well. And that way, we may not be making a formal recommendation for a change, but we certainly would be letting the council know some of the places that we heard from the public should be still considered by them outside of this ordinance. Yes, Sue.
May I suggest that as part of the final written report, that both the places outside of the ordinance that should be considered and some of the names of folks who should be honored, sort of make it into that in a written sense?
Yes.
Because they both will exceed the terms of the ordinance at hand.
Yes.
I appreciate that. thought.
May I also add, in regard, it should, and I'm actually not clear how the Washington Artillery Park thing was resolved at this moment, but given that we have a name out that for the east for that was did not finish for Juan San Malo Street, but we had Trafunta out there, and that given the location of Washington Artillery Park across from Jackson Square, which again creates its own issues, but given many of the criticisms of Andrew Jackson, all of which are absolutely valid, having the park named after the native peoples of this place would be, I think, an interesting and very timely thing to do.
Yeah, and I will say I appreciate that because that's welcome as well. Because obviously part of our charge is education of the public. So if we can help the council in any way in that regard, whether it is inside or outside of the ordinance, I think we should do that. With regard to Jackson Square, one of my suggestions to the commission in terms of a recommendation to the council was going to be not to change the name of Jackson Square necessarily, but to ask for some further installations to be included there that include the names of actually some of the folks who are recommended for street names here, like Roberts, what's the slave who came down to fight in the 1812 war with Jackson because he thought it would be freed, and then at the end was told no. I can't think of his full, it's Roberts was his last name.
Yes, James Roberts.
James Roberts, thank you. There are other people like him who helped to win the Battle of New Orleans whose story may be able to be told so that there's some contextualization to Jackson Square without harming its economic impact on the city. So, but again, that's maybe outside of our scope given who it is, but I think that, it doesn't harm us to make recommendations to the council that make sound sense anyway, right? So that being said, we can move back to Lee Circle and Robert E. Lee Boulevard. Let's tackle Robert E. Lee Boulevard first.
I was going to say, let's tackle Lee Circle.
Okay,
I
let's
was
tackle
going
Lee
to say,
Circle.
let's do Robert E. Lee Boulevard first.
Actually, I was going to say Lee Circle, but because we had already opened the can of worms on that conversation a good bit. So let's do that. If y'all don't mind, let's do Lee Circle first and go from there. I think that will make the conversation a little more efficient. So unless there's a major objection.
I'll make a motion to rename Lee Circle, Leah Chase Circle.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that Lee Circle be named Leah Chase Circle. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'll say, even though I have a petition with 40,000 signatures to rename Leah Chase, Robert E. Lee Boulevard to Leah Chase, this is a much more prominent space in the city to honor her and her legacy. There's a lot to say about Leah. We all know her. We can all speak to the nature of her in contrast to a figure like Robert E. Lee. It's really juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'll just throw out one point. Whomever it is, I mean, I don't know Leah Chase's story as well as maybe some others, but I would just throw out that whomever it is should be the person that probably most embodies what New Orleans is about, or who has done the most for New Orleans or the most for people. I mean, it's probably, as we all know, the most well-known landmark in the city, or at least one of them. So.
Any other discussion before I give my 2 cents?
I was gonna say Comité de Citoyens, but maybe for, I'm just thinking of how readily people could identify with Leah Chase, both in the city now as well as people that come to New Orleans. She was internationally known, and maybe that helps make it be a more easily accessible, welcoming, peace circle, if you will, but Leah Chase circle. So I don't know. This is a tough one, but I'm
I
just
feel like it's
sharing my thoughts.
like a presidential rite of passage to go to Dookie Chase's.
Right.
Yeah, she's definitely hosted more presidents than the majority of folks in with restaurants. She certainly played a huge role in the civil rights movement by allowing groups, particularly integrated groups, to meet upstairs in the restaurant because they couldn't meet other places as an integrated unit, which cannot be overlooked. But one thing I would, and you can, take it for what it was, what it's worth. I also don't want to miss the importance of Dorothy Mae Taylor and Lee Circle and her actions in helping to get integrated Mardi Gras crews, right? So a friendly suggestion would be that it be Chase Taylor Circle if we go with individuals and not a theme. And that way we can honor both for the commitment that they both made to civil rights and particularly the changing the image of the city and its acceptance. This is just a friendly suggestion if you would like to accept it, but since I can't make it as an amendment, that's my 2 cents. Any other conversation on the motion? Any other discussion?
Hi. I wanted to support the signatures around Leah Chase Circle. I feel like in so many different industries, she was a real pioneer and spearheaded projects. So including the ones that were already mentioned, we know that she was also a mentor to chefs in the city. We also know that she was a part of the philanthropic community in supporting NOMA, as well as countless artists individually as a collector, many of whom, were able to sustain their livelihoods because they are a part of the Leah Chase collection. And so, again, I think as a Black woman who is kind of rooting us in this idea of food, bringing us together, I think that she represents much of what we want to represent as a city as we think about tourism and we think about our own branding as a city. So I'm just really in support of those signatures and of us honoring her in this way. And I will further say that there are institutions, unfortunately, because of systemic racism and injustice, that use the name oftentimes of Black people as a face for various projects and various fundraising efforts, and they don't actually benefit from, or their families or they themselves and their legacies don't actually benefit from many of those initiatives. And I think this is a way to do something that is much more significant and that essentially centralizes her in the city and not just within the Black community.
Thank you for that, Gia.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I like to say Dorothy Mae Taylor. I do like that suggestion. Dorothy Mae was the one that fought to bring the parade route back to Lee Circle. And never forget the council meeting lasted till about midnight that night because it was so heated, debated. And I just think that what Commissioner Carl said, doing the combination, I think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioner Jackson, would you, since I cannot, would you like to offer that as a friendly amendment to Commissioner Raymond?
Yes.
Dude,
I would like, sorry.
Circle?
Commissioner Raymond?
I accept.
So you accept the friendly amendment to change your motion to change Lee Circle to Chase Taylor Circle and honoring both Dorothy Mae Taylor and Leah Chase?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just want to make sure we're understanding. I forget who seconded your motion, but are you also okay with that change? I think it was Commissioner Westmoreland.
I second that. I don't know if it has to be seconded differently because
I don't know about that, Commissioner Connor.
Yeah, I mean, it's your motion, so you do what, you know. We can go with the motion as made, or you can accept his friendly amendment, or it's up to you. Trust me, nobody's pushing either way.
I don't like the two names together like that.
I don't either.
I don't. I think they both did great things, but I do feel like Leah Chase is nationally known, and like Commissioner Hamilton said, and several other people spoke, they kind of stand alone. She's done stuff nationally. A lot of people have benefited from her family, all of the things that they have done in the community. I just don't feel that's something, I'm not saying either lady was not important to history. I just feel like they both had different milestones, different events that happened, different, I don't know. I just feel like they're in two separate lanes, but did great things together, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. I disagree.
I agree.
They were both in the civil rights lane.
Oh yeah, I know that, but just
you're correct. It was different.
The magnitude and the reach was, the frequency, the reach was just a little different.
And then, right, exactly. I got that part. Yes, the reach was there because Leah Chase was international, not just national.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Commissioner Raymond, you want to say something else?
No, that was it. I would just like to keep it.
Is it? Okay. Is there any other discussion? And the motion remains to name Lee Circle, recommend that Lee Circle be renamed Leah Chase Circle.
Yes.
Yes. So any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpko,
Yes.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
no.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
Okay, that is 7-1 and the motion carries.
Thank you. All right, Robert E. Lee Boulevard. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we rename Robert E. Lee Boulevard Allen Toussaint Boulevard.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
Moved and properly second that we rename Robert E. Lee Boulevard to Allen Toussaint Boulevard. Is there any discussion?
I just will share, for those of you that were not on the call with the community, that Commissioner Sturcow organized. There was quite a bit of positive recommendation to change the street to Allen Toussaint. And so I just wanted to share that.
And I know we talk often about the practicality of the changes as well. You know, him having a home on that street and then the studio at some point also helps the city with regard to the further, I hate to use the word marketing, but marketing of the street and city, right? Because it's obviously, he's germane to the street. So I agree with that 100%. Sue, you came on because you wanted to make a comment?
You all handled the comments very nicely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, move for a vote. Sorry, I'll entertain a vote.
Commissioner Westmoreland,
Yes.
Commissioner Raymond,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturpkow.
I'm going to abstain simply because I haven't had a chance to meet with these people yet. I have no objection to this recommendation whatsoever. In fact, I like it. I'm just not comfortable voting yes yet until we have that meeting.
Understood.
Okay.
Commissioner Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner, Hamilton,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jones-Williams.
Yes.
All right, and that's 7 yeses, 1 abstention, motion carries.
Thank you. And I believe that is all of our streets, ladies and gentlemen. The before we depart from this portion of the conversation, I want to ask, well, no, we've already had this, never mind. We've already discussed, we'll talk later about the possibility of adding some other streets that the public had submitted to us that we have not entertained, like Poydras, Milne, and Jackson Square. I do have a question of Sue or Thomas, though. Does Poydras not fit into the categories of the ordinance?
Sorry, I was stepped away for a second. Poydras would have passed away by the time he would have, in all likelihood, been filed under the ordinance, shall we say.
Okay. Okay, he's a benefactor of early death. I got it. Okay, and what about Milne?
I'm sorry, what about him?
Milne?
I am not sure on Milne. He did not come up in our second research that he would have fit.
And I feel like he likely wouldn't, only because of the history of Milne Boys Home.
Yeah, he would have been dead before the Civil War. And again,
Yeah.
our charge was in particular in relationship to demonstrable actions.
Okay.
And again, our charge was not slave owners, of which there are plenty who could be potentially changed in the city, and not
Yes.
limited to those two, although those are two very prominent ones, of course. But our charge was people participated in the Civil War and then the actions against democracy and constitutional rights in the aftermath of that war.
Yes, thank you very much. Andrew, were there any public comments to this section?
Not for this section. We have 2 public comments on other matters.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the recommendations for the preliminary report? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, other matters. Are there any other matters you all would like to discuss? Hearing none, Andrew, what are the public comments?
Sure. First comment is from Edward Bergen, a not a paid representative. I join the others in recommending that Palmer Avenue be renamed, rededicated in honor of Earl C. Palmer, the noted New Orleans musician. Second comment is from Chris Berthout, not a paid representative. In the posted copy of the NOLA City Council motion M2170, which established this committee, there are no results of the vote on the motion as yeas, nays, and absent section is blank. For completion's purposes, what is the vote, please? Thank you. And for the record, the vote was, it was moved by Councilmember Banks, seconded by Councilmember Williams. 6 council members voted in favor of it. That was Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Moreno, Councilmember Giarrusso, Councilmember Banks, Councilmember Palmer, and Councilmember Wynn. Councilmember Brissett was absent for the vote. So it was passed 6-0.
Thank you. All right. So if there are no other matters, I would like to thank you all for your time, your dedication, both before today and of course today. I tried not to make up for all the hours I saved you in the first 7 meetings. We got out of them in fairly efficient time, in most instances right at an hour or less. So I've taken at least 2 of those back from you today, or 3. But it's as important work as was stated earlier, and this was the time we needed to spend on this. Again, this is for the preliminary report. So, we will revisit these things, especially pay attention to the report that comes from Thomas and Sue, hopefully by Friday, see if that makes any difference in your thoughts about the streets that we have voted on today. We will reconvene, and Andrew, if you could figure out in about, I hate to say 2 weeks, but about maybe 2 weeks, in about 2 weeks so we can come back and talk about, what we've put in the initial report. We will make every effort to get the report out. Some of you have already volunteered to help in writing portions of this report. Paul, if you wouldn't mind, I didn't share with Commissioner Hill your synopsis of the District A meeting so far. If you would mind doing that, because she's trying to help write a summary of some of the engagements we've had.
I will. Bobby, I'll send it to you.
Okay, that'll be great. And Commissioner Westmoreland, I feel like I know some things, but there's a lot that I don't know. That also goes for Commissioner Connor and Commissioner Raymond. I know you all have had conversations, multiple conversations. So I don't feel like I can write that piece up. I need you to do that. And Commissioner Westmoreland, it would be great if you just throw a paragraph or so in there just to tell me about the conversations that you've had, and then we'll just do a brief summary of the meeting the Zoom meeting that we held. Commissioner Hamilton, I know you were sick and unable to attend that meeting. I think we had 4 or 5 maybe people attend of the 4 that attended that meeting from that list. But again, if you have anything you want to add with regards to conversations you've had in your district, I mean, really that goes for everybody that's a district representative. It would be great if you would just share a short paragraph, because I would otherwise be making it up.
Right. Now, I was going to reiterate the email that I'd sent previously, asking everyone to send at least a paragraph on their engagements so that we can have that to incorporate in that section of the report. And we need it like yesterday. So if you could get it to us tomorrow, that would be perfect, so that we can start making the changes we would need, or incorporating it rather into the larger portion of that section so that it can be incorporated into the overall document. Spears Group has given a skeleton for us to drop things in to get the report done. So based on the outline that I provided a few weeks ago. So let's get that done, and then we'll start immediately, after the holidays, working on the final report and getting ready for the public meeting, which Andrew, I will get with you about when that should be set, so that we can be in accordance with the ordinance.
And one more thing I wanted to point out, Commissioner Connor, that you had asked was suggestions for a title for the report.
Yes, thank you.
If everybody would, put it out there, come up with some ideas, we would love to have some ideas about what we want to title this to.
And again, we need that yesterday. So if you could get that to us before this week is out, that would be perfect, so that the Spears Group can do whatever it needs, magic it needs to do with it for the actual report that will go to the council. We do already have one suggestion that Bobby provided to us, which I do appreciate her getting that to us, but we are welcoming others. Her suggestion, I don't call it a suggestion because that would seem as if you wanted, sent it for it to be the title, but one of her proposals, I should say, was OURS, O-U-R-S, Orleans United in Renaming Streets. So, if you all could add to that so we can come back and get that together, that would be perfect. So with that, if there is no more discussion, if there's no further business, we've concluded our agenda, and I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Take care, everyone.
Same to
Appreciate you
you.
all.
Everyone, thank you so much.
Take care.
Good night.